everybody, it is O&A Detox time once again. I'm Muse, back here again with my partner Neb. We're back again talking about Compound Censored. The whole point of the show is to be talking about how Opie and Anthony went from obscurity to being some of the biggest names in radio, back to virtual obscurity again.
Has-beens.
But in very different opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
It's very much seeing the road Opie went down and the road Anthony went down. People have wanted us to talk about the road Opie went down because we have been very one-sided on Anthony.
Well, I mean, I guess we could.
It's a very short road is the thing,
Well, he's not dead. It's just a road that nobody's, like, it's not on public display.
It is on public display? More so than Anthony's because Opie's not behind a paywall. We've mentioned it before, there's just not a lot of fruit on that tree. Like, he's not under any delusions that it's not boring. He's not making it seem like it's anything more than it is.
Yeah, he may as well just do travel vlogs, like...
Yeah, it's basically a vlog, but he interacts with people in the chat. Anthony makes it seem like it's a much bigger deal than Opie does, honestly. But with Anthony, he launched his whole subscription service, and he does a show 4 days a week. And to talk about how Opie and Anthony got to where they are today without talking about where they are today, that doesn't make any sense. Over the past 2 episodes, we talked about Compound Media, Anthony's show specifically on Wednesday with co-host Gavin McGinnis. The past couple weeks, Anthony has not been in studio, and it has just been Gavin by himself.
Which is so weird to me.
Yeah, what we got here is Gavin's second episode alone, and the reason we're talking about it is because it is the episode of the show directly following the cancellation of the Penn State comedy, I'll put that in huge quotes, show. A friend of Gavin's, Alex Stein, was hosting. He's a stand-up comedian in name. And Gavin was a lined-up guest to be on the show. And I think Alex Stein alone, he doesn't have as big of a profile that if it was just, hey, Alex Stein is coming to Penn State, it wouldn't have got a lot of press.
Right.
But because it's Gavin McGinnis on the bill, now you got protesters, people don't want fucking fascists and racists on their fucking campus hosting a comedy show, so a lot of protesters showed up, and the show eventually got canceled. I was very curious what Gavin's take on this was going to be. Mm-hmm. Because I was not following it. I didn't see what happened. All I heard was that protesters got sprayed with bear mace, and that was likely what got the show canceled. Gavin has his own theories as to why the show got canceled, and we'll get into some of those. About half of this show deals with the Penn State show being canceled. The other half, inexplicably, is nothing but transphobia. Gavin just finds ways to cram transphobia. He's hosting a 3-hour show. He has so many stories he has to get through. He's just like Alex Jones. He has a stack of papers, and he says, I have so much to get through. I need to talk about all of this. And he even teases stuff at the top of the show that he never gets to. The way this episode starts, Gavin references the beginning of last week's show. I'm going to say up top, people listening on Spotify, but this episode is going to be very visual heavy, so I suggest going over to the YouTube feed for this one, because there's a good bit to see. So the way the show last week starts is with a visual gag, and Gavin references it in the episode we're talking about, so I had to include it. I'm not sure why there's no sound. I think someone fucked up. So what we see here, Anthony is talking from some episode, I don't know what. They took footage from another episode because Anthony is not there. And then it cuts over to Gavin, who is there. And Gavin is yelling at Anthony, who is not there, telling him to shut up because he talks too much and he's just going to do the show by himself. That's the bit.
They're really doing a bit?
It's a bit. Anthony, shut the fuck up. I'm here. I'm going to talk for the both of us. So he's acting like Anthony is there. The timing of how the sound clicks in is really bad because the first thing you hear is fucking horrible.
Relationship, nigger faggot. Fuck this. Fuck you. And fuck this show. Fuck that microphone. And Drew and Garrett, You guys are just as bad doing this shit. You guys are part of this. You guys enjoy it just as much.
I didn't leave it in last week's episode because I don't think anyone would actually care, but now it's relevant. I showed you the clip last time that a guy on Anthony's show had a fight with another guy. And in that fight, the one guy who stormed out and threw a microphone off the desk called the other guy an N-word, F-word in the argument. I don't even know if I don't think he's black, and I don't think he's gay.
Yeah, I think he's in the footage, and I don't think he's black.
No. So they cut to the security footage, which is all parodying the fight. So all this bit is to set up the fact that Anthony is not actually there, but they thought this was really funny to mock this extremely uncomfortable event for Anthony to have had to deal with two people on his show just having a huge altercation.
Fuck out of here, you're a fucking nigger and a faggot.
Oh, God, now I've seen a few of those out on the sidewalk. No fighting! Shut the door! Close all airtight doors! Close the air... No! Close all airtight doors! Oh, Gavin, no, it's... Oh, my God, he's like a black woman in a Wawa!
I'll fucking kill you, you fucking faggot.
Oh, no. Don't punch Dino. Don't punch him. I can't have assaults happen on this, oh my God, the security cameras are up. I would like to say some things for a change, Anthony. How about that? How about it's not the Anthony show? How about it's the Gavin show for a change?
I wish this were canon. I wish from now on, he and Anthony hated each other.
That'd be great.
Because guess what? That would force one of them to stop being such a bigot.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
we can't agree on everything.
we can't agree on... No, I hate you so much, I don't want to agree with you on anything now.
Yeah, now it feels wrong. So after all this build-up, this is how the show properly started.
And don't say a fucking word. First of all, is this girl a perfect 10, would you say?
That's the start of the show. We're gonna rate some women.
That's so weird that the Anthony audio just wasn't there, because that would have been a make more sense bit, at least.
I guess. I mean, I assume they wanted it to be there.
Yeah, and someone just fucked up.
Yeah, and all of Gavin's ranting just isn't there. So I guess he felt like he needed to redo it, because that intro went on forever.
That is so weird.
From there, I wanted to include the intro they actually use. I've never shown you this. This is the theme song, Seg.
There's a theme song?
Yeah.
It's the Anthony and Gavin show.
See,
the racist and transphobic and homophobic and bigoted and all the ways you could think of show.
That'd be better than what they actually come up with.
Oh, no.
Because at least that's a theme song. If anyone's ever watched wrestling and they put two random wrestlers together and their theme song is just awkwardly chopping bits of each other's theme songs together.
That's what's happening?
Yeah.
Oh.
They just took clips of each other's intro video and just butted them against each other in the most awkward slapdash manner. So the show properly starts and Gavin has to explain the joke.
Oh my God.
That's the
best kind of joke.
That started last week's show because some fan thought it was real. And at the end of this, Gavin tells a joke and bombs harder than I've ever... See, this episode is very cathartic in a way.
Yeah.
Gavin is extremely bigoted, transphobic, and terrible in this episode. And those elements are going to be hard. But there's a lot of self-owns in this also that make it really funny. And because Gavin is there, he just has to wallow in it. Because there's nobody there to dig him out of the hole. It's really funny.
The last time we did this, and I pretended I told Anthony to shut up, and he just sat there for 3 hours going, and then ended the show. Who the fuck could think that was real? I sent a tweet or something to Ant after, and I go, this guy thinks that you were just sitting there quiet for 3 hours. And he goes, well, we have our first retard. And I go, no, the first retard was Eve. No laughs in the booth there? Okay. High standards.
Oh.
Yeah, I took some liberties in the editing of these clips, cutting them very, to make them look extra uncomfortable and goofy. This part here, I'm going to preface it. This is quite possibly the most transphobic shit I've ever heard anyone say.
Okay.
It's really bad.
Okay.
So I just want to mentally prepare you. We start where, again, we're talking about women. We're rating women 2 weeks in a row.
Okay.
That's how we're starting. And Gavin is watching a TikTok of some woman on a runway. I don't know who it is.
I was thinking about that on the way here, too. This whole tranny thing, it must fuck up chicks who are super tall or have broad shoulders or muscles or a strong chin. Normally, they were just known as like a slightly different looking chick. Now, people just assume they're trannies. Like I was talking to an Uber driver on the way to the airport who recognized me, which isn't great because he picked me up at my fucking house.
Dox him!
You know, I'd be like, hey now, but they want people to dox leftists and protesters, and he actually does later in the episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's only fair.
And he was like, yo, the problem, he was Dominican, of course. Yo, the problem now with dating is like, you don't know if it's a dude or not. So you got to like ask questions and fish around. And then eventually, like, did you like sports as a kid? And then we were both surmising that this horrific death rate, which we'll get to too, Dylan, that tranny who went to talk to the president, this horrific death rate they have. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Is it possible it comes from you lying about being a tranny and you're attracted to like bad boys? Because you're obviously fucking weird and you're into the sort of outskirts of society.
I don't know where Gavin got this conception from that trans people...
We know he's talking about trans women.
Trans women go after gang members? Is it like specifically? Not even just black men.
No.
Specifically gang members.
Bloods and Crips.
Bloods and Crips.
Specifically. Hyper specific. And there's a moment in the beginning where he's saying shit like, oh, you know, if a cis woman has like broad shoulders or a strong chin, you know, it must be hard for them now. It's like, you're so close to pointing out how transphobia is bad for everybody.
Yeah.
It's bad for everybody.
Yeah.
Cisnormativity is bad for everybody.
But no, it's just a passing, isn't that weird?
No, the fact that these people exist is the problem. Not the fact that this changeable opinion about these people is the problem. No. It's the fact that these humans exist.
You take this blood or this Crip back home, and everything's going great, and then you pull out a dick. A weird dick, by the way. It's like a child's penis.
You specifically, and I cut them out because he goes on forever, and it was just horrifying, how much he talks about grooming and everything this episode. God. But specifically, you comparing a trans woman's penis to a child's is a very weird way to go.
Super weird. Like, you could say that about literally any penis.
The research has shown, out of the thousands I've seen, they're all weird. So I'm just going to throw this out there like it's a matter of fact that they all have weird penises.
That one, to assume that they all have penises, but two, to assume that they're all weird. Does he have kids?
Yeah, he has 2 kids.
Are they boys?
A boy and a girl, I think. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that.
So, that's the only reason that he should know what, like, a kid's genitals should look like. Hopefully.
I also want to say this up front, too, because I know this episode is going to be hard for a lot of people, and it was hard pulling these clips. Gavin is an absolutely 100% horrible person, and I'm not giving him any pass on that. What makes it slightly easier... Do you remember the episode of Doug, where Doug wanted to go to a horror movie? And it was called The Abnormal, and it was like a monster movie. And he went to the movie... And he was so scared he covered his eyes. And then he found out when he was forced to keep his eyes open, he saw the monster had a zipper down its back. And it was like, holy shit, I can see the zipper.
Yeah.
This movie's so funny now. It's not scary anymore.
Yeah.
Gavin is such a fucking ignorant, dumb piece of shit. He never speaks from a place of knowing anything. Every little bit of knowledge or opinion he has is completely pulled out of his fucking ass. That makes it a little easier to watch.
It doesn't mean he's not scary and that he doesn't wield power in terms of white supremacy and calls to action and violence against communities, but it eases it. It's like, fuck you. You don't know shit. You literally don't know shit.
We've talked about this off air, but a reason I think Alex Jones is so powerful and convincing is because he pulls from this infinite depth of stats and numbers that make it specifically sound like, wow, he's really looked into this.
Yeah.
He must know. Because he says all these things that I've never heard of. If everyone in the mainstream is saying something, but he's saying something different, he must be right in saying something that the others don't want us to know. Because all of them are saying the same thing.
Yeah,
so it must be scripted. But he must know more because he's saying something different.
Not because he's using uncredible sources or no sources at all.
Sources from his own website and writers. But Gavin doesn't really do that.
Yeah, Gavin is very much just like us in terms of, like, we don't know the facts in terms of, like, how many kids they have or what they've done with their lives, but we can surmise just from their actions.
Yeah.
But what he's doing is, like, not even from actions. He's just pulling shit out of his ass, like, this probably happened. Straw man arguments, you know, just like.
Is it possible he lost his shit and kicked the shit out of you to death? Because if he's known as a guy who fucks fags, he's dead. It's prison culture in the hood. So the fact that you hid your masculinity from him might have led to your death.
Is it the fact that these people exist that's the problem? Or is it homophobia that's the problem?
A caller calls up later, and I couldn't find the clip, so I didn't pull it because it wasn't really worth it. Calls up and admits to being somewhat attracted to trans women. And Gavin just straight up says, hey buddy, newsflash, you're a flaming faggot. And the caller's like, oh really? He goes, yeah. It's like, you're the problem. You saying stuff like that is the reason that people are... Not this prison culture you mentioned. Yeah. It's not as rampant as you seem to think it is. It's because of shit like the shit you say.
Yeah, exactly. It's just perpetuating this shame and stigma. Like, yeah. Like, for instance...
That doesn't just come from nowhere.
If you were to be on a date with someone, and they're like, yeah, I'm a woman, you know, cool, hey, what's up? And you're about to become intimate with a person, and you find out that she has vaginomyces. It's basically, I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it's basically where the birth canal and the vagina, there's a lot of tension, and you cannot enter them.
Oh, okay.
And you find that out, and you realize I can't be intimate in that way with this person. You're not going to feel like stigma.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, oh, well, okay, that's not what I expected. Or if you have somebody who has, you're becoming intimate with them, and they're just like, oh, by the way, I just don't want to have sex.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. You decide where to go from there, if you're a shitty person or not.
Uh-huh.
But if you have like someone who's like, yeah, hey, what's up? What a great time. I'm a woman. What's up? Blah, blah, blah. We had a great time. Let's go become intimate. And then you realize, oh, wow, hey, you have a penis. You make a choice as to where to go from there.
I think the most disturbing thing of this rant is that Gavin is placing 100% of the blame on the trans people and, in a way, giving a pass to murderers.
Not even in a way. Directly saying, it's your fault because you're a woman with a penis.
You brought this upon yourself, and the other person is entitled to murder you.
Every day he makes choices. We all do.
Yeah.
And he's got this information. There's a high rate of trans women being murdered. trans women also don't want to immediately disclose what their genitals are or how they, like, what they may have been assigned at birth, which is totally valid because they need to protect themselves. And that's a huge, I can't even imagine, like, what that obstacle in terms of dating must feel like for people, for trans people. It'd be like, at what point do I tell this person that I'm trans?
Yeah.
At what point do I tell them, do I even need to? Do I feel safe enough to? When does this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why so many people are T for T, you
Yeah.
know, where it's just like, okay, I already feel way more safe with you because you get it, kind of thing. So he has all this information, that high death rates, high murder rates, not wanting to disclose. But instead of saying, like, so yeah, it makes sense that they wouldn't want to disclose this, and it makes sense that there is a lot of transphobia and fear in terms of what does this mean about me when it comes to cis dudes getting with trans people. And instead of it being like, oh yeah, it's a societal thing.
Yeah.
It's phobia. It's something that we could work through. Rather than coming to that conclusion, he chooses to come to the conclusion that, no, these people shouldn't exist anyway, so if they didn't exist, then we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah. It's very strange. And it's not strange. It's far too common. Gavin will go out of his way to say that he doesn't have a problem with trans people, basically with the asterisk of, if I don't have to see or ever think of you.
Yeah.
If you stay out of my consciousness, I think it's fine. But the fact that trans people dare be visible,
exist in any way.
Yeah, that immediately is crossing the line for him.
Yeah.
He tries to walk it back. And if anyone with common sense sees that it's fucking bullshit, why would you take the time to try, especially when you know the audience is going to agree with you, why do you even think it's necessary for you to try to walk it back? Who are you trying to convince or fool that you aren't just a hateful bigot? Because he says at one point, I didn't pull this clip either, that a friend of his, like a cop friend of his, jokingly sends videos of trans women to him, like as a prank. Just like, haha, made you look at a dick. You didn't know she was going to have a dick, but you saw it.
I'm just assuming he's been exposed to trans people mostly through pornography.
There's absolutely no way he knows more than maybe two.
He's not following anybody. He doesn't know anybody. He only knows because no trans person is going to want to get near him.
Yeah,
you know, except for maybe like, I don't know, like Buck Angel or something.
Oh, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Buck has been on Compound Media.
Yeah, like
if I looked it up, I wouldn't. I'm sure he has.
Yeah.
Or would be open to it.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he saw some like one clip of like trans porn with like a black man.
Oh yeah.
Like,
and just thought, well, that's representative of every relationship.
Those two categories are so highly fetishized in porn that like
it's very common to have seen that. Yeah.
So I'm like, but other than that, I just don't know where he would have pulled that from.
He talks about how trans and queer issues are specifically a coastal issue.
What?
Gavin says folks who don't live on the coast don't know what queer people are, so they aren't homophobic.
What he's seeing and translating into that is that bigger cities are on the coast.
Yeah.
And that bigger cities have a higher population, period.
Yeah.
And so by rule of larger numbers, you're going to have more queer people.
Yeah.
You can't conflate that to mean that there are no queer people in, like, middle America. And
even if there aren't, to specifically say, I'll talk to people in the Midwest and I'll talk about gay people, and they'll say, what? Like, no fucking way. So much of the show is just bullshit, made up nonsense, but that specifically was like, what? He and the producer are talking about always being able to clock trans women, then ogle tie trans women because they've been, quote, on chemicals for years and years.
Specifically tie?
Yeah, the lady boys. They speculate that they are the only trans women that even remotely pass. Gavin speculated that, like, one trans woman he watched a video of was being, like, funded by the government specifically. I don't know where he got that from. But yeah, he was trying to make it seem like these trans women that are, quote, on chemicals for years and years. It's like, well, yeah, that's typically how that works.
Do you know what hormones are? They're chemicals.
Yeah. So he's saying, like
what?
he's saying, well, of course they passed. They've been on chemicals for years and years. If you've just started on them, he has a problem, I guess. But if you've been on them for years and years, you get grandfathered in somehow?
To specifically say Thai trans women, that just shows that they're fetishizing.
Exactly.
Like,
this is where they're coming from.
Yeah.
This is their frame of reference. It's all super creepy, and on the creep train, or should I say plane, continues as Gavin shows pictures of tall black women and complains that she skipped her way to the front of the plane, and from there, they talk about how we've ruined women with how we've masculinized them, including the brassy broads that made up a majority of the protesters at his Penn State show. He shows a video of this woman who was on a plane he was on, and how she was trying to sit in the front of the plane, and I don't think he would even have a problem with this, but she was a tall black woman, so naturally Gavin goes in this rant about how, they all feel entitled. She thinks she can sit in the front of the plane because she can muscle her way to the front. Because we've masculinized women.
No, that's literally you masculinizing black women.
Yeah, of course. And then he talks about that, it's so weird that brassy broads made up the majority of the people at the protesting show, that the most vocal were women, not the men that were there, and that's because it's our fault that we've given women this sense of, I don't know, confidence? I don't know.
As if they have a right to speak? Like, how dare women?
They shouldn't be there at all.
Yeah.
That made no sense to me.
Doesn't he want to, remove, rights for women voting? Isn't that him?
That's Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Gavin agrees in all of that.
Same book, yeah.
Gavin takes a turn here. We're done with transphobia for a minute.
Okay.
Gavin has another very interesting story he needs to get to.
Okay.
Men who cry at their weddings. What's up with this shit?
I like this segue of maybe the fact you hid your masculinity is why you got murdered.
Oh, yeah.
To men crying, what do you...
Yeah. If you hide your masculinity, you're gonna get murdered. If you show vulnerability or feelings or emotions or all, you're an asshole, and I'm gonna rag on you and show your Instagram videos to my hateful audience.
Men can't cry because men don't cry.
Yeah.
Men have to be masculine. Men don't feel. Women do all the feeling.
Yeah.
And then this whole argument of if cis women look sort of quote unquote masculine, then that must be harder for them. And, they had talked about are men even supposed to be happy? And they're the last episode.
Yeah.
So it really is just just dig a little bit deeper, buddy.
Yeah.
Dig a little bit deeper instead of just finding a scapegoat. Realize that we're all part of this system that in various ways and levels upholds this toxic masculinity, toxic cisnormativity, heteronormativity. Just a little bit deeper, buddy.
Yeah, it wouldn't take much.
I've noticed on Instagram there's a lot of dudes crying at their own weddings.
A lot.
It's 5 videos in a row that I saw that someone sent me.
On my Instagram, I wanted to point this out.
Yeah,
small
my
tangent.
page.
People have been talking about the possibility, the FCC thinking that TikTok should be banned for whatever fucking reason.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of people come out of the woodwork, people like Gavin, who are prematurely celebrating this, oh, thank God, we don't need TikTok. TikTok sucks for everyone for probably the first couple days. Because you need to establish an algorithm.
Yeah.
Before TikTok will understand what you actually want to see. And I'm gonna wager to guess that if Gavin is seeing lots of videos of men crying at their weddings, he probably doesn't use Instagram much.
He either doesn't use Instagram much, or he loves those videos.
Because if you use TikTok for a couple days and you like what you actually like, and if you're someone like Gavin, TikTok has plenty of hateful content videos that you could eventually see, stuff that reaffirms your bigotry.
Yeah.
You're not going to be bombarded with trans shit and queer shit if you're someone like Gavin who is going to actively ignore stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm so confused of how he's coming across tons of videos of men crying.
Instagram is a different algorithm. I will say that.
Not by too much,
but if you don't like anything, it affects your algorithm.
I've noticed as far as TikTok goes that I like just about everything, and you don't like nearly as much as I do.
Yeah, but TikTok is a lot more nuanced because if you stay on the video the entire time or twice, then it counts toward your algorithm.
Oh, okay.
But on Instagram, if you don't like it, it's a stronger... you need to like stuff on Instagram for it to really tick into your algorithm. But if you stay on it for once or twice, then it will also affect that. And if you like do not want to see anymore, not interested or whatever, then that strongly affects it too. But
so is Gavin just hate watching tons of videos and that's affecting his algorithm?
Well, see, I will frequently, because Instagram has a shit ton of fucking dieting and like wellness bullshit that I don't want to see. Right. And I will frequently click, don't show me this. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. And I still get it. So Instagram just doesn't have as precise of an algorithm, but it's precise enough. I have literally never seen a man cries at wedding video.
Neither have I.
I've seen like a shit ton of gay proposals.
Okay.
I've seen like wedding aesthetic slideshows. But like, have you ever seen... You don't really scroll through Instagram much.
I haven't seen a hetero man marrying a woman video on Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram in as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
I don't come across those.
Yeah. What's an interesting fact you know about Gavin McInnes?
I honestly don't know too many intimate facts about the man.
No, what's an interesting fact?
An interesting fact?
Yeah, something that's like... The fuck?
Well, I know he's married to a Native American woman, and we'll get to that later. I find that vaguely interesting. But not too much about his personal life, really, especially his early life.
As a teen, McInnes played in an Ottawa punk band called Anal Chinook.
Yeah.
You're gay. You guys are getting divorced.
You're gay for crying as you see your wife to be walking down the aisle.
You're gay. You're getting divorced because you cried at your wedding.
You see how you're the problem?
Yeah.
Like, do you not fucking see that you placing this shame and stigma on a man crying at a super important event in their life? Like, get with the fucking times.
This is after Gavin said earlier in the show that he sees his wife maybe an hour or two a day after saying he's going to be live streaming for a week straight just to get through all the stories he wants to rant about. I think it's the week of Christmas, by the way. Sorry, kids. Sorry, wife. Gavin's gonna spend a week straight streaming. And I don't want to bring his wife into it because as far as I know, she's innocent in all of this.
I mean, innocent in terms of an individual person, but she is with him.
I'm very curious about their dynamic and how they're still together.
Yeah, whenever I hear someone is married to someone with extremely, supposedly different views politically, I think one of them is lying. And I think it's the more liberal person lying. Perhaps she holds enough privilege that she thinks that she's better than all the people that her husband is bigoted against.
It's interesting.
You know, because how could you stand by?
I don't know. And I mean, just looking at this picture, I think she would be passing as someone people wouldn't assume is Native American. Yeah. So maybe that's a privilege in that too.
And if you're falling apart because she's pretty, like, dude, you're going to get sued. Someone's going to get cancer. Your friends are going to die. Like, you're going to get fired. There's going to be some major catastrophes along the way.
This just comes back to, you shouldn't be happy. Bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
He's just a serial pessimist.
You have to be a rock. I've seen 100 of these fucking videos, too.
How? How have you seen hundreds?
It'd be one thing if he was watching like a compilation on YouTube, but he's on Instagram.
I haven't seen a single one.
What are the tags on this video? Can you see them?
Hashtag wedding films, hashtag wedding filmmaker, hashtag wedding filmmaking, wedding videos, wedding choreography, wedding videographer, marriage movies, marriage, love story, love songs, wedding dance, wedding songs, wedding entrance.
And they're never just like a Clint Eastwood tear, which I might allow, they're always blubbering. And why do you have a fucking tissue? Why was that available to you?
It's a wedding. You think people don't have them like left and right?
Wouldn't you have a handkerchief in your pocket maybe of your fucking tux?
Yo, what the fuck was your wedding like, Gavin?
I don't know.
What kind of somber ass, morose ass wedding did you have?
I wouldn't suspect him to be a romantic person particularly.
I imagine it was a courthouse wedding, or if it was a wedding, like an event, he just stood there just like...
Stone-faced, yeah.
Bored.
He did it over Skype.
Yeah, he's like, emotions? What emotions?
Yeah.
I purged my emotions.
I can't be happy at my wedding. This isn't my place. It's not my job to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. It really seems like by toxic masculinity offloading all emotional labor on women, it removes their ability to feel joy.
And especially when your mind is preoccupied with, I'm going to, my friends are gonna die, I'm gonna die, and he throws in, I'm gonna get fired from my job?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people that's like a genuine, constant concern of theirs.
Well, I mean...
Well, yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, I just, like, how many people are just like, I'm at my wedding, but I can't be happy because I'm gonna lose my job one day. What?
Yeah. And if he genuinely feels like that, then, like, yeah, you gotta go to therapy, bub.
Yeah, no wonder you're not ever fucking happy or even seem like you're enjoying what you're doing here during this 3-hour show. Whenever you got on any kind of tangent of like earlier, they were just rating women, just guys being guys. It's not particularly entertaining or groundbreaking, but it's for the most part harmless, especially compared to the rest of the shit they're doing.
Yeah.
And he can't help himself just randomly be transphobic for a few minutes. Like, I can't even enjoy my time with my friends here without just diverting into hatred.
All of his emotional ability is just toward hatred, which is rooted in fear.
Yep.
And so what is he afraid of? He's afraid of losing his role as the toxic masculine person by trans people existing.
Is he afraid of divorce and that's why he can't be happy at a wedding?
He's afraid of divorce. He's afraid of his penis size.
Oh, yeah.
He's afraid. I can 100% speculate on all these things. Like,
I mean, he's given us enough. At this point,
yeah. It's pretty transparent.
Yeah.
Did you pack it for the imminent crying that was going to go down?
You could see on her face, like, oh, God, I think I made a mistake.
Yeah.
If I were walking down the aisle and you were crying, I'd be like, oh, and then I'd cry, and then you'd cry more, and then I'd cry.
Yeah.
And then it'd be a disgusting, adorable mess.
Yeah, but no. The waifu is just smiling.
The waifu
is just walking down the aisle smiling.
Yeah.
Gavin, or the producer in this case, says, look at the wife's face. She knows she's making a mistake. And then Gavin speculates that the mom looking on is like, oh, what did you get yourself into? Your husband's crying. I don't know where any of this fucking comes from. Man.
It's all rooted in like this archaic American stoicism. Like he said, Clint Eastwood, the
this
single
fucking
man
stiff upper lip.
Yeah, just...
You were born in the UK, that fucking mentality. Gavin praises the douche that put on the Penn State show and says that Alex Stein, the other comedian who was on the bill, is now suing Penn State for not honoring their agreement to go on with the show. Alex Stein spoke on a YouTube channel, The First, to say that he was spit on and that the protesters had concrete milkshakes.
Oh, fuck yeah! Concrete milkshakes, they're so delicious!
I haven't heard the phrase concrete milkshake in like 3 years. But Alex Stein just again pulls out of his ass with zero proof.
Fuck yeah, concrete.
But he's on some America First YouTube channel, so of course they're not going to ask him about that or press him on it. They just let him get away with it. He goes on to say that all he wanted to do was speak and get people to start asking questions about why our government is doing more to help Ukraine than they are to help the Americans at home. This all sounds well and good, but he's saying this over videos of him mocking protesters, doing the wah-wah face, taking selfies with protesters, and just generally being a dick.
Yeah.
If they did have milkshakes, concrete or otherwise, there's no way he would have left the campus clean.
Yeah, no.
He was getting in the shit with people, taking videos with protesters behind him, being like, haha, look how pissed you are, look how triggered I've got you. If he was doing that shit and they had milkshakes, he would have been fucking dunked on immediately.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how Gavin, throughout this episode, flip-flops on whether or not the protesters there were violent or not. When they aren't being violent, he's asking, why aren't they being violent? Why don't they just hit somebody already? And when they are violent, now all of a sudden it's a problem and they shouldn't be violent.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, you're wrong. So after the show gets canceled, Gavin complains that college conservatives are nerds because they didn't want to go get a drink with him after the show. So yeah, he wants to talk with the people who came to the show, want to hang out with these college kids.
Oh, why the college kids don't want to hang out with me?
Again, he just wants to be liked. He just wants to be the cool guy. But they're all nerds because they don't want to drink with him. If this picture isn't sad enough, Gavin, in his three-piece suit he wore for the speech, hit up a golf course alone.
Damn.
For fuck's sake. The most pathetic,
what a nerd.
Fucking pathetic picture he paints. So after he wasn't able to get any of these cool college conservatives to have a drink with him, he tells a very real story.
I had the stupidest conversation of my life at the hotel bar, and I'm 53. So I sit there, and she goes, hi, where are you in town from? She was Italian. And I go, oh, I'm from New York, but I just did a talk at Penn State, but they canceled it because they said I was a Nazi. And she's like, phew. They always take your side, which is weird. Maybe I am a Nazi. You don't know me. Maybe I was doing a huge talk about the Holocaust and how it didn't happen. You should be a little more dubious of people rather than just go, oh, they thought that about you? You, a guy I've known for 4 seconds? You're awesome.
It's so strange how Gavin isn't able to, even for a second, see any possible good in strangers. It's so strange.
He's like, you're so stupid.
You're so stupid.
Unless they're college conservatives.
Yeah, you're so stupid for giving me the benefit of a doubt.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Rather than me fucking not even info dumping, what is it, trauma dumping on you about how people think I'm a Nazi. It's like, I've known you for 4 seconds. Why are you telling me that people think you're a Nazi? Like, what the fuck do you want me to say to that?
Yeah, what am I supposed to say?
If you are a Nazi, you think I'm gonna say, ew, get out of here, and you like probably maybe try to kill me or something? I'm just here from like 8 to 6, buddy. Like, get off my ass.
I'm just making literal small talk with all the people that come in here.
I didn't hear words you fucking said. Honestly, I heard the tone of your voice, and I was like, oh, they want to be consoled. So I was like, dang. Would you like a drink?
Yeah, you probably looked very depressed.
Yeah, look at you. I mean, you look at you right now.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah.
You were probably just staring down at your fucking drink.
You were sobbing like you had just seen your fucking wife-to-be walking down the aisle. Blubbering even. Here's a nap. Here's a serviette.
Here's a tissue. You were sobbing over your canceled show, so this waitress came up and tried to console you, and fuck her for that.
Yeah.
And then she goes, the way I see things is you can't judge all of one group by one thing. Like, people are individuals, and it's wrong to just say that group, all of them, 100% of them are bad.
Because if you're this guy who's just saying somebody thinks I'm a Nazi, you're gonna hear, yeah, not all people like me are bad. But what you're actually saying is, don't be racist, don't be bigoted.
Because the face Gavin makes here is like, what the fuck? What the fuck is she talking about?
Yeah.
I don't believe this happened at all, but I don't understand what would have made her say that if Gavin hadn't just said something very racist.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can imagine, because why would she say that otherwise? I know that didn't sound like it was her talking about him.
No.
That sounded like she was reacting to something incredibly racist he said. And that's why he's like, what the fuck?
Or he said something like, just because I'm a white guy, or just because, you know, he said something to imply that he's part of a group that is oppressed in some way, or judged.
He tried to make himself look like a victim, so now she's, again, trying to be there for him, and he's being super ungrateful and saying this is
free emotional labor.
Yeah, saying this is the stupidest conversation he's ever had.
I'm just like, yeah. That's what everyone in the world thinks. Do you also think the sky is blue? Like, what do you... So I go, okay, what do you think about the retard running our country now? She goes, I don't like that word. My brother has learning disabilities. And I felt like going, well, you do too, clearly. And she goes, he's doing the best he can. And I go, he's retarded. I said my brother has learning disabilities. Okay, well, imagine your brother was president, because that's what's going on right now. And she goes, look, things are really hard for, like, it's just like women in politics and women in the workforce. They like everything. That's how God designed them, to be like, let's not get into any trouble. And I go, so patterns are illegal? Is that what you're against, patterns? And I go, what do you think of welfare? She goes, my mom was on welfare when my dad left. I go, where'd your dad go? And I noticed people with...
This is such a fake conversation. He is trying to shove in all of his talking points into this one fake conversation.
I know.
Also, he went golfing alone.
Yeah.
We're supposed to believe that he went to a cafe, a diner
alone? I think he said hotel bar, my mistake. So we went back to a hotel bar that I guess that the hotel he was staying at.
Why would the waitress be wasting her time with this long of a conversation?
It would not ever go on this long.
God, no.
With who were abandoned by their father, they downplay the father's culpability. She's like, meh. Oh, okay. He was born to run. Roam free. That's what happened with him. And she goes, she worked 2 jobs. So she worked 2 jobs and she was on welfare. So you guys were rich.
Do you not understand how welfare works?
No, he doesn't.
There are fucking hoops you have to fucking jump through, you dipshit.
Clearly no.
Like, oh, you had free money from the government that is only allowed to people who get under the minimum line of poverty? You were rich.
Gavin talks like an edgy teenager.
He literally does.
Who has
he dresses
no outside
like an edgy
information.
teenager. He talks like an edgy teenager. He thinks like an edgy teenager.
And Anthony is no different.
No.
On Twitter today, by the way, at Relocation Boss on Twitter, his like 7th fucking Twitter. Someone tweeted, "Who's the most famous person you've ever had a conversation with?" And he retweeted it, Jean-Benet Ramsey. That's something an edgy 12-year-old in the year 2000 might say. Not someone who's in their 60s and who has been doing comedy for decades. That's your joke?
You know how they say when you get to a certain age, you stop giving a shit about what people think about you?
Yeah.
This is proof that that's not true for everybody.
No, yeah, because this motherfucker has to not only have his show, but he also has to go on Twitter with his bad jokes and like 20,000 followers. I don't know who the fuck thinks this shit is even remotely funny. Just flipping the bird saying fuck you in retweets to Jill Biden, like, is this cathartic for you? Does this make you feel good?
Yeah, well, how does this... They don't feel anything.
No, yeah, no.
Like, all they feel is fear channeled into rage.
Yeah.
And then they find a scapegoat.
You're either angry and afraid of minorities, or you're laughing at tragedy and things befalling minorities.
Yeah.
It feels like it's the only time you ever get any joy is when you can mock minorities.
Yeah. Some kind of emotional release happens.
Did you have a yacht? Who? How much money do you make working 2 jobs while on welfare? Sounds pretty good to me. Anyway, I just sort of looked at her and I sort of sent out the vibes of, why are we talking?
What fucking new age religion are you a part of? You sent out vibes?
I sent out the vibes.
What you mean you tried to use social cues to indicate that the conversation was over? Is that what you mean? Like, what do you... Like, you of all people saying you sent out vibes. What?
Yeah, I know. That you're mad that this person is talking to you.
Doing their job.
Yeah, this one person actually took time to talk to your pathetic ass, and all of a sudden,
And
you decided to
humoring
make
you.
it super argumentative, and now all of a sudden you're deciding that this conversation has gone on too long. You've done nothing but push all their buttons, be super argumentative, and once you've won all your debates or whatever, now this didn't happen.
If this did happen, this reeks of a kid who was ignored by their parents a lot growing up, and they want to find anybody they can to talk to, but the moment that person does start talking to them, they're like, whoa, don't talk to me. That's weird. Why are you talking to me? And then they leave.
Yeah.
But instead of it being like, oh, this is a introspective moment for me to be like, yeah, why don't I want this conversation? I started this conversation. Why? Okay, it's not going the way I wanted, but I'm steering the conversation. Like, why am I so fucking upset? I'm steering this conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm blaming them.
Yeah.
They're the problem here, instead of me, who's directing where this shitty conversation goes.
I skipped this clip earlier. This is how Gavin decides to start the show after describing the terrible joke from last week's show. This is an example of him teasing a story he doesn't get to, and the narrative he tries to push for how the Penn State show went.
I just got back from Penn State. I did a non-talk there with Alex Stein. 500 people tried to kill me. We'll get to that. We'll get to Fetterman and his unbelievable debate with a non-retarded person and how that went for him.
Yeah, he's talking about the Fetterman Oz, Dr. Oz debate. He says he's going to get to that. He never does.
Oh, okay.
It's weird. There seriously are two stories of this whole thing. The Penn State thing and transphobia. Yeah. That takes up the entire 3 hours. He doesn't get to anything else. After all of this, we finally get to Gavin discussing what went wrong at Penn State and the first of a few different people he decides to blame for it not ultimately happening.
But I gotta say, the cops at this Penn State thing, they were not German existentialists. They were not Kierkegaard. Like, I sit down with a guy and I'm like, okay, here's the deal. If the mob comes through this door, I want to go at that door. But the problem is that door leads to the parking lot where the mob could also be. No, don't worry about it. We got tons of officers here. I go, oh, okay, so everything's going to go smoothly. And he goes, yeah, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. I go, well, I'm wagering they might not be fine. So say hypothetically, which is why we have these meetings, things are not fine. He goes, trust me. We have 8 different jurisdictions. By the way, 4 times as many as Milo had. And Milo's talk went on. And is it worth noting that the president of the school when Milo did it was a white guy, and the president of the school right now looks like an affirmative action hire? It was like Eric Barron was the president when he did it, and mine is like Nanjuti Butalutu.
What?
I don't know. Something racist. So
yeah, extremely.
They apparently had 4 times as much security as Milo Yiannopoulos had at his speech that ultimately went on. And
that happened at a different time.
I guess.
Like years ago, or
I'm not sure which one he's talking about, because the infamous one at Berkeley I don't think ended up happening. So I'm not sure which one he's talking about. But yeah, blame it on the professor of the school being black also.
Didn't that professor give you the go-ahead, though? Didn't that person have to sign off on it?
Yeah, would have had to have, yeah.
Yeah, so
in that clip alone, he's blaming the professor for just being black, I guess, and the cops for not being prepared enough. Or just assuming that it would go okay, which Gavin seems to think wouldn't be the case. I know this isn't going to go well. It's interesting that he would already go in that paranoid. Seeing how the protesters actually were, I don't see why he would have thought it would have ended up that way.
Let's just work out plan ABC. And I go, plan A is I go at this door, I get in this car, we go it that way. He goes, well, plan A is nothing happens. What? Plan A is, yeah, let's plan for everything going great. That's a great plan. And I'm tempted to think he shut it down.
I think it's really telling because in terms of plan A, B, C, D, plan A is everything goes fine.
Yeah.
Like just when that phrase is used, plan A is, yeah, this is the way it's going to go and it goes fine.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of goes to show you that he is such a fatalist that he does not think anything is going to be fine.
And I've seen people debate whether or not it's a proper term to use for people like Gavin, provocateur. People like him and Milo, and I would argue Alex Stein with how he acted in front of the protesters, that it seems like a big thing of what they want to do is get a rise out of people.
Yeah.
Even though they go in trying to say that they're just there to open dialogue and get people to question things. Your whole point is to be an edgy button pusher.
You want people to argue with you.
Yeah, you don't want everybody to agree with you, even though you're trying to say, I went to this college to try to tell everybody, to try to open their eyes to the truth. What they do by setting up these shows at college campuses, They see college campuses as leftist indoctrination centers. So what they try to do, in theory, what they say anyway, is by setting up a show at a college campus, you're trying to get these college kids to open their eyes and realize your point of view. They say they want to get people who are, on the fence, to try to get people over to their side. I don't think it's likely that you're going to get a lot of those people because they already know who and what you are.
Specifically, college campuses are rife for protests when it comes to speakers.
You're at that right age of people just starting to question shit.
And you're at that age where, as you question stuff, you start to become a bit more, because you're in this sort of sophomoric headspace of, no, this thing that I learned, that's fact. It's not a way to convert people, but saying that it's a way to convert people makes it make more sense to even have this speaking thing.
It definitely is a way to rationalize it.
It's like,
and give it credibility.
Yeah, why not just have a rally then? Like, why not just have your people come to you? They're going to come to you anyway. I think, in fact, it's not about converting anybody.
No.
It's to further polarize everybody.
Yeah.
Because the people who are already on your side will see the people that aren't on your side and be like, whoa, I'm in math with that person. Fuck that guy. I've never talked to him before, but I see you're protesting this person I sort of agree with, so I'm going to agree with this guy even more and disagree with you even more.
And by having a show at a college specifically, Gavin talks like the only people that should be there are students at that school.
Yeah, no, there have been multiple occasions that I've gone to a college to protest and also to attend, like, random things.
Yeah, he brings it up later that it's very weird that the girl that spit on Alex Stein ended up being a 17-year-old high school student. It's like, she wasn't even supposed to be there. Here we get to one of Gavin's big narrative, that the bear macing that happened.
Yeah, who maced whom?
So Gavin very badly wants the people to have done the bear macing to not have been Proud Boys because that really, really hurts his argument. So if you see a person with a Penn State hoodie standing near and looking like, even though they're all wearing face masks, so you can't even tell if they're talking.
Yeah.
Being near them, he must have been there to create problems with the two people there. And because he's wearing a Penn State hoodie, they must all be students and therefore not one of my guys.
You know what's interesting is that you've got the people who are protesting this speaker, and then you have a group of people who are on the side of the speaker actually protesting the protesters?
Yeah.
Like, that's where the cops should have come in and been like, no, we can't have this. It's too conflicting.
Yeah. If you look at that, it looks like a fucking mess.
Yeah.
It should never have gotten to that point.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been, like, if they knew that the speaker had a large, at times militant following, they shouldn't have allowed him.
They booked another speaker at the same time as his speech talking about anti-fascism because they wanted to give, like, an equal time. They saw Gavin's speech as being fascist, but because it's a school and because they want to be pro-free speech, they allowed him to have it because they don't believe in censoring his viewpoint.
But you don't see how this is just going to turn into a wall of death? Like,
yeah. Gavin tries to say that nobody went to the other show, and it seems like it was just something the college booked to be like, hey, look, we're giving both sides of it.
And a lot of times colleges are really idiotic about that kind of thing.
Yeah. So even going down that line of thinking that, yeah, maybe nobody went to that show because it seems like it was just put on
nobody
for the
went to your
sake of
show
it.
either, though.
Yeah. So here he is talking about his conspiracy theory and takes time to mock some Proud Boys along the way because he's a great leader.
Because someone in the audience pulled out some pepper spray, bear spray, I think, that was outside with the protesters. I know for a fact it wasn't a Proud Boy. There was about 10 Proud Boys there. I know them all. I met with them after. We drank. There was a zero bear mace contingency. There was 2 guys wearing Fred Perry's. And I go, why the fuck were you wearing Fred Perry's? And Proud Boys, love them to death. Not the most sophisticated chaps in the world. He was just like, I didn't get the memo.
Fred Perry shirts It's a black or white shirt with 3 yellow stripes. It's a uniform for the Proud Boys.
Yeah.
To the point that Fred Perry has had to issue a statement on their website saying that they are not affiliated with the Proud Boys, and they acknowledge that it has been co-opted for a fascist group.
That sucks.
That really sucks for them.
Yeah.
And it sucks because they have people modeling the shirts on the websites, and they all just look like Proud Boys now.
Why did they choose that shirt, I wonder?
I don't know. It probably has some type of semblance for the whole thing. Maybe the 3 stripes has to do with the 3 percenters movement. I don't know. The yellow and the Gadsden flag. It could be anything. They specifically said, please, nobody bring anything. Don't bring bear mace, wink wink, I assume, because I've never seen this memo. And don't wear the Fred Perrys because they want...
Don't wear the gang uniform.
Don't wear the gang uniform because we don't want people to be able to point you out.
Yeah, because then we'll just be on a list.
Yeah.
And do you want us to be on a list?
We're already on the list.
Yeah, right.
So 2 people do show up wearing the stuff. And
of course they do. It's a fashion statement.
So that's what he had to go, what the fuck were y'all doing? And they said that they didn't get the memo, and Gavin decides to mock them. Gavin does that a good bit during this, too, of, kind of disavowing his own guys.
It makes sense, though, because you want the strongest of your fascist followers to stick around, but you want the other ones to fuck off.
Yeah.
You want the ones who will listen to you to stick around.
I mean, it's already been said that there is the alt-knights, the violent, confrontational wing of the Proud Boys that does do more of the violent shit at protests, and they really try to do their best to keep the Proud Boys a squeaky clean frat, almost.
Oh, right,
of just
okay.
Guys just hanging out. It bleeds over.
Of course.
So here he talks about his proof about the guy in the Penn State hoodie. This is his narrative that he really wants to push.
It's when the bear mace came out, which was after the Proud Boys, and I think it was a student at the school, because I have footage of the guy with the bear mace talking to someone who has a Panthers, the school logo, shirt. So he was at the school.
You can't just buy those. You can't, there's not a store in the school that sells this jacket for $25.69.
Yeah, Gavin jumps to a lot of conclusions, and if you're willing to do that, we can jump to a lot of conclusions too, because that's fair game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why you would just assume he's wearing the shirt. He must go there.
Yeah. The fuck?
What? Why wouldn't you just assume that might be... I mean, you already told them not to wear the Fred Perry colors because you don't want them to stand out. If you don't want them to stand out, you'd want them to blend in.
Yeah.
And if they were going to blend in, they'd wear the sweatshirts.
It sounds to me like he was an agent provocateur to justify the left's view of this talk, which is Gavin can't talk here with Alex because students will get bear maced.
We literally don't need any more reason to, vilify you, though.
No, all the people were already there to protest without anything happening.
Yeah.
Where do you think that came from?
Now there's bear mace. Now this is a terrible group.
Yeah, now it's a problem. Now it merits protesting. Fuck off, dude.
You got to bear mace someone if you're going to say that. And it worked. It was shut down. Was it shut down by the cops or the administration? I don't know yet. But it sucked.
Wow, what a fucking joke. Not even a funny oh, he did that to be funny. That's hilarious.
His giant pencil?
Yes.
You don't love his giant pencil?
Right
at the end of that clip, for people not watching on YouTube, yeah, Gavin just pulls up this giant novelty pencil to write on his notes.
what do you want us to do with that?
I don't know, man. Look at it and as you're talking about bear macing, and read the fucking room.
It's so funny in a interesting way. In a lot of ways, they take nothing seriously.
Yeah.
And that is why they say the shit that they say.
Yeah.
It's rooted in fears that they haven't fully addressed, but it's also a big, clusterfuck of, I just don't care about anything. We're all gonna die, who cares?
Yeah.
And it's this nihilism, it's this fatalism, it's this, I only care about myself, but I really don't take care of myself in the ways that I should be.
Yeah.
And nobody else is, so I hate everybody in the end.
Yeah.
And it's, I feel like that giant pencil was a great example of just I do not take this seriously. I don't give a shit.
I was going to play the clip later, but we already have so many clips to get to that cutting some out wouldn't be a bad idea. Someone calls up during the caller segment and asks Gavin, the media lies so much about you and the Proud Boys. It pisses me off so much. But you always come out here acting so cool and calm, like it just washes off your back. How do you stay so calm? And Gavin's answer is boxing practice. He takes up sparring, and he hits the speed bag, and he does all this stuff to get his anger out and his frustrations. Which, again, that's one way to do it. I'd suggest maybe seek help and professional help and therapy.
Yeah, it's one thing to be exerting physical energy, but if you're not actively exerting the emotional energy too, it's pointless.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But then at the end of the clip, speaking from, I can only say, paranoid delusions, Gavin then says, if anyone wants to come up to me, I'll be like, what? You want to fight? I'll fucking take it to your ribcage. I won't even aim for your face. I'll go for the ribcage. Because it's like, he just assumes that everyone there to confront him is going to want to kick his ass. Where do you think that comes from?
Like, maybe, Gavin, you shouldn't be living a life where everyone just wants to kick your ass.
Maybe not.
Maybe it's your fault if you were to get murdered.
Yeah.
Just flipping it back on the argument he's talking about trans women.
Yeah.
Something that they can't change. You can change your ideology.
You are putting yourself in this dangerous situation that you're aware of.
You're making choices every day that make your life dangerous for you.
Yeah.
You're asking for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're literally asking
You are
for
literally asking for it.
You're saying, what? You want to come to me? You want to fight? I'll fucking take you out. Okay, what if you don't? What if someone wants to fight and they end up taking you out?
Yeah, then
what?
But that's what I'm saying. He's already got all the privilege in the world. He's probably lived a better life than half of the world can.
100%.
What else does he have? And this brings me back to the topic that I brought up a few episodes ago, where it's like when you are so privileged, you just want to take from other people who aren't as privileged as you.
Yeah.
It's such a weird phenomena of just like, why can't you just be happy with what you have?
Gavin later talks about that his parents would sometimes throw parties at their house with like 20 people over, with drugs and all of this, and in like the middle of the night, to where Gavin said he would have to open up his door and scream shut up at his parents, who I guess that's just a cool thing to do. And yeah, when you say like privilege, like I can't picture anyone but an extremely privileged person who has parents that just sound like socialites.
Yeah.
Having more than 20 people over their house in the middle of the week to have fucking drug parties.
Yeah.
That just paints a picture of you being upper, middle to like upper class.
Yeah, like...
You've never had it hard. It doesn't sound like you've ever had it rough.
That's what I'm saying. Like, literally has never had it hard. And then they will be... Then guys like him will start to appeal to people who have had it harder.
Yeah.
But are still arguably much more privileged than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, these kind of leaders, they'll try to find poor white men...
Yeah.
And say, the world's against you. They want to take what you're already lacking.
That's how Trump got elected.
Yeah, and that's that populist kind of movement.
Yeah, to be a populist. It's interesting because people called Bernie a populist too. Bernie was a populist in the sense that he addressed real issues that faced real people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was a populist in the fact that he would cater to delusions and paranoia that real people had.
Yeah, it's almost
that
like...
weren't really based in anything real.
Like the difference between like a fiscal conservative and a... What's the other kind of conservative? A...
Social conservative,
Social conservative. Yeah, it's like a fiscal populist versus a social populist kind of thing. Where it's like, all these people, all these marginalized groups and everything, they're trying to take from you. All this stuff that you've earned, they're trying to take from you. They're trying to, all the rights you have, they're trying to take your rights so they have rights, which is not how rights work. It's not like a fucking finite resource.
Yeah.
But that's how they treat it.
Bernie would be up there talking to lower class people, saying that the government is withholding healthcare, all this from you, and all that is legit. They are. Trump would say the same thing, but blame it on minorities.
Yeah.
It's a demagogue way of going about it. You have to create the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Because when Bernie is doing it, the boogeyman is the government. And being part of the government, you can't really do that.
Yeah.
But with Trump, to bring over this fucking enemy that everyone could look at, that's a completely different way of doing it, and you're fucking scot-free when things don't go right, because then you could blame everything. If it didn't go the way you said, you can then blame it on the people that you've been blaming this whole time.
Yeah.
They're the scapegoat. So I don't know why he does this, but Gavin decides to tell us all what the show was supposed to be about, what it was going to be about, and specifically, show us his notes. His notes are really embarrassing.
Oh, no.
So here's what the talk was going to be. I have it on my notes here. I don't know if you really want to hear this. It's kind of like preaching to the converted.
Is it a poem?
So it says, Penn State, open, talk about white supremacy, booths to sign up. I'm not sure what for.
Wait, to sign up for white supremacy?
Maybe. NYU talk beginning, Klan hoods on microscopes, Chuck D anecdote, my record collection hates me, and then under it, Operation Ivy, Sonic Youth, and Crass. Part of this comedy show would be how I have a lot of records from bands that are politically opposite me, and that's, I guess, funny, that I like a lot of music from people who are, like, liberal and would hate me. I don't know why that'd be funny or interesting to anybody.
What I was going to say was, I was going to talk about media malfeasance and university and how you guys should drop out. These people are retarded. So I was going to start out by going, hey guys, I'm here to promote white supremacy. We're recruiting people for the white supremacist movement to get blacks to go back to Africa and deny the Holocaust and make America all white. We have booths outside, because that was their allegation. And when I did the NYU talk, I said, after I was pepper sprayed, by the way, I said, we got 3 problems in this country: a woman, the Jew, and the Negro. And everyone in the audience went, and I go, just kidding, just kidding. And I said,
Just kidding, touch his
why
nose.
did your jaw drop if that was what you said this was going to be? You got your bad guy. I said the bad guy things, and you were startled. You should have been going, see, this is what these guys do.
I don't know what point.
Not all right-wing white supremacists are racist and transphobic and bigoted, okay? Jeez. Is that his argument? Is that the joke?
That they all thought he was going to say some racist shit when he got there. So he went out of his way to be super racist up front, and then was trying to make it so, like, hey, you're surprised I went that racist. You thought I was going to be super racist, and then I exceeded that expectation. So who's
not
really wrong here?
So in fact, I'm less racist than that. So that counts for something, right?
By how much? I guess we would have seen if the show went on.
And if the right demographic of people heard me say that quote unquote joke, what would they do with that information? Internalize it and then let it dictate their day-to-day lives? Yeah, sure. But that's not my responsibility.
Oh, I was going to talk about bands that hate me. That's boring. I was going to talk about how stupid this allegation of white supremacy is and how it's not a thing. And then I was going to get into some various examples. Oh, yeah, I was going to do hate mail. But I was going to get into various examples of what you hear in the media. You can kill that. It's boring.
My notes, boring. My notes for this talk that I was so heartbroken got canceled. Boring notes. What if
you don't need to look at
what
that.
if he canceled it?
He's looking over at his notes.
He's like,
oh fuck, I don't have anything.
Can we not do this? I don't want to do this. I'm gonna blame it on you though. Is that cool? Okay, bye.
Bye. Oh shit, what have I done?
What you hear in the media and what really happened, like with Proud Boys, they said they killed that girl. I think her name was Nia Wilson in Oakland. Some lunatic got in a fight with a black chick. They were both probably in the wrong. And she was like, you ain't gonna fuck with me, motherfucker. I'll kill your ass. And he just got out of prison. And he was like, in prison, this means stab or I die because I can't be a bitch. So the story became Proud Boys were hunting black teens, as they're wont to do. They killed a black teenager, and then they were going to a bar to celebrate. So the local activists in Oakland wanted to shut down that celebration because you shouldn't be celebrating if you murder a 13-year-old black girl just because she's black.
I think Gavin ended up talking in circles and confusing himself. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, what was his point there? Like,
I'm not sure. I think his point was the media misconstrues what the Proud Boys do.
What do they do? What do the Proud Boys do?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, your gulp.
I can't give you
I don't know, buddy.
a concrete answer on that.
Oh, I can give him a concrete answer. Am I right?
Oh shit! Well,
It's too thick.
I was just gonna say, don't take a sip of that yourself. I think that defeats the purpose.
Well, no, that sells it.
Oh, okay.
I'm willing to drink a little concrete
if
if it means that I can bring it into wherever I want it.
You got to put some actual milkshake on the bottom.
It's concrete on the outside, and then the straw has some milkshake in it.
Oh.
And so, but if you drink too much, like if they're looking at you while you do it, you're like.
Gavin tries to make some more points. I guess he realized that was a bit confusing. So he tries to talk some more bullshit and talks about high-level Antifa members.
And then at the rally, some dude in a American flag shirt got the shit kicked out of him because they assumed he was a Proud Boy there to celebrate a murder. Another example I was going to give was after the synagogue shooting. The accusation was that Zach, what's his name, Real, who is in prison right now for meandering in January 6th.
Meandering in January 6th?
He's just downplaying this guy's involvement.
Meandering.
It was just simply meandering. I wanted to pause it also here because this was supposed to be a comedy show. I'm trying to figure out what was supposed to be so funny about this show. The fact that I guess Alex Stein is a supposed comedian. I've never seen any of his stand-up. But another guest was Gavin, and it seems like most of the show was going to probably be Gavin. Like, what is funny about any of this?
Yeah.
If I went to a comedy show and just got lectured, I'd be walking the fuck out. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Who would any of this be funny to, especially if you're trying to go there to recruit people to your side? That's not a comedy show. I don't know what your goal was, or what at least if it's not what you say it is. It's confusing.
I genuinely think that he canceled it himself.
He
got scared.
Yeah.
And he realized that he didn't have anything good.
This doesn't make any sense.
This is going to be the worst.
This was funnier on paper that I read it out loud and realized, a lot of this just affirms my followers' actual views, and they're not going to see the irony or joke in it.
He was having like a boomer patriotic rally, and the rumor that got out was he was there and Proud Boys were gathering to celebrate the synagogue shooting. They beat up 2 Hispanic Marines, Antifa did, because they thought they were Proud Boys. There was no charges, of course. They got off. They said, what are you talking about, white supremacists? We're Marines on our day off. And they go, and we're Mexican. They go, you fucking spicks, you wetbacks. Top brass Antifa were fighting them, by the way, not regular dudes.
What top brass?
I don't know. This didn't fucking happen, Gav.
What hierarchy of Antifa do they think there is?
Yeah, I don't know. This guy hurling slurs, he wasn't just a regular guy. He had a big hat. he was wearing a real big official. He had medals on.
I was gonna say
and everything.
He was wearing the uniform, but the uniform had way more stuff on it than others.
He was a real highly decorated Antifa member, so I knew he was real shit. Not just one of these entry-level buffoons.
And then that day, the Holocaust Museum or the Jewish Museum in Philly put out a tweet that said, "We're staying open today, even though they're here to celebrate our demise." So my whole angle was going to be, everything you're hearing is horseshit. The media is lying to you. Your professors are lying to you. It's all a huge sham. Don't fucking fall for it. And drop out, by the way.
I don't know the vetting process that a dean or school president or board president provides. Because you can't just be Joe Schmo off the road, I want to speak at this college.
Right, yeah.
You can't be just some random actor that some TikTok people know and, like, they're going to look into you.
Yeah.
And presumably ask you what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, you'd probably have to present your talking points up front, I'd imagine.
And one of the draws of these speakers is to draw students to want to come to that school and enroll.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, y'all have a lot of speakers. Y'all have cool speakers that come in, and I could be a part of that somehow, you know? Why would you have someone come speak at your school that's telling people to drop out?
It's very likely he just lied.
What if
under the guise of it being a comedy show, because none of it sounds like a comedy show.
What if he had to run it by the dean or whomever before going on, and then the dean was just like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah,
I'm canceling this.
Yeah, or saw how they started the show, and then we're like...
Oh, did they actually get to start it?
I think they... Well, I don't know, actually.
It seems like it was just totally canceled.
Because he says he went on his whole thing about there's 3 problems, and everyone was like, a gasp.
He said that? He actually did that part?
He said that people reacted shocked at it. So I'm guessing he must have at some point.
I thought that was just a hypothetical.
Oh, maybe. It sounded like he did it.
Okay.
I think. Maybe that's as far as he got. And they realized this isn't what we booked.
I feel like that would have been a headline.
Gavin doxes a professor that sent him a letter. He goes over some hate mail and just shows the address and everything. But there's a very weird problem that Gavin has with this email, and I think it's pretty telling.
This was one of the guys that you think is just a blue-haired fat chick, right? Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. You fucking mama's boys. I hate boy being spelled with an I. I used to fight with Talib Kweli a lot on Twitter back when I was there, and he kept calling me a fuck boy. Fuckboi as one word. And I was like, dude, call me an asshole, racist, Nazi, whatever. But like, that just sounds like a twink. It sounds like what gays fuck. You sound like a fag calling me a fuck boy. Like you sound like you just fuck me in the ass and then you don't stick around. Like it doesn't make you look good as the guy saying the insult.
I wouldn't have a problem with you calling me a racist or a Nazi. Because maybe that's accurate. But calling me a fuckboy, that just makes you sound gay. That's not a problem with me.
He doesn't want to sound specifically like a bottom. That's his problem with it.
Yeah.
It makes him sound like a twink, he said.
Yeah, a twink just being fucked and left, like...
And used.
Yeah.
Everyone listening can do with that information what they would.
Yeah.
Call me I like Nazi's way better than fuck boy.
Well, yeah, which is really telling.
Yeah.
He would much rather be considered a Nazi than a twink.
Yeah.
Specifically a twink.
And no one would make that confusion. Gavin, look at you, first of all.
Look at you. And,
Yeah.
and that's not to say that you can look like him and not be a twink. It's really just look at you and what you're saying.
That's true.
You're so pro-masculine, so pro-masculinity.
Yeah, you don't present yourself, in any way that would be perceived. Yeah. Twinks can look in any way.
Any fucking way, yeah.
But, yeah, no, not in Gavin's book.
No.
I want him to have good insults. Mama's boys for Trump cunt are a fucking joke. I hope, because prayer is fucking useless, you get the reception you deserve on college campuses. Violence is justified against you cowardly white cunts. So this person isn't white, I guess. But he's also an atheist because he said prayer is useless. Nothing a good beatdown can't fix. Okay, I thought you guys were against violence. The only good Nazi is a dead Nazi. Let us, I don't get that, praise. Has to throw a pun in at the end. And then you go, who is this guy? Oh, he's a professor. He's a professor of chemical and biomolecular engineering at Berkeley. So these are not just radical students. The whole administration is polluted.
I guess he Googles who David Schaffer is.
As if nobody can, pretend to be that person.
And the email is just a regular email. It's not like a...
EDU?
No. So he just Googled the name as if there's only one David Schaffer in the whole world and just assumed that it was this first guy that came up in a Google search.
Hate speech isn't free speech. Yes, it is. All speech is free speech. Why is that such a hard concept for people to understand? Because it's not true.
Also, they seem to be the ones that hate the most, right? They don't, they can't see it.
Yeah, the
in
previous
their own
guy
head.
wanted us all to die.
So apparently hate speech is free speech, according to Gavin, and I guess free from any consequence, I imagine.
I mean, there's this interesting thing that happens within like a cycle of abuse. And he is an abusive person, just toward, groups, where the abuser will edge somebody's rage. I'm not poking you. I'm not touching you.
Yeah.
I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Until that person has had too many droplets of that and blows up in a way that the abuser will frame as disproportionate to the poking.
Yeah.
The poking here in this metaphor, in this analogy, is dog whistles. Dog whistles. I'm not doing anything bad. I'm not doing actual hate speech. I'm not telling to kill anybody.
It's so funny that these people are so hateful.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, look how hateful they are. They're calling to kill me.
It says 500 people were there and tried to kill me.
Yeah.
That's fucking bullshit, dude.
Yeah.
So what we see here is someone with the Fred Perry uniform on, one of the two people that were there, who walks into a sea of the protesters, and we see what happens to him. And Gavin's take on the protesters' response, he flip-flops on it.
And look at the guy screaming to the back of his head. You're a bitch! With his mask on.
First of all, the Proud Boy also has a mask on.
Yeah.
So that's confusing.
It's a different mask, though. That mask protects against nothing but people being able to identify you and get you fired from your job and divorced and, held accountable.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so passive-aggressive.
What is... Do you not know what passive-aggressive means?
No.
This is aggressive. This
Clearly
is direct action against a fucking shitty person, probably.
Yeah, and he says they're acting like abused dogs. What does that mean? No, I don't think
like a scolded dog?
Yeah, they're not running.
Okay, stop. I just noticed something. That dude with the orange hat and the Panthers sweatshirt, he's next to the pepper sprayer. So he's trying to intimidate Proud Boys, and he's also pals with the pepper sprayer. Of course, if there was any half-decent journalist there, they would have followed the pepper sprayer home or to his car and seen who he was.
Yeah, the guy from the other video where with the blue Penn State hoodie was here in this clip also. And he's like, it's so weird. He was here trying to intimidate the Proud Boy in the group. But later, he was just standing there. He was just standing there. The same thing he's doing later was just standing there. I don't know what Gavin thinks he's going to get from this theory, but...
You just saw neon orange and you were like, that's the guy.
That's the guy.
Okay, beat him up then.
Yeah, now he's mad they're not beating him up. What the fuck do you want?
And that's another fucking thing, that abusers...
He wants them to get beat up because he wants to paint them as violent.
Exactly, yeah.
And then they don't do that.
That is the thing. They want... Abusers and shitty people like this will do everything they can to make the other group or the other person that they're abusing seem like the bad guy.
And that continues in this clip.
But what was interesting about what Alex did by getting spat on was that became the narrative. That was the main story. That was everything.
It was the narrative. It was everything when Alex went on Tucker Carlson's show. It was the talk when he went on this random right-wing YouTube channel.
I never heard about it.
The story was the bear macing.
Yeah.
Sorry, but the way you think of this as a win, I was just like, hey, this young girl spit on Alex, so they're all... Only the right-wingers who already agree or willing to listen agree with that stance. Yeah, you didn't walk away clean on that one.
Now, the campus tried to push there was pepper spray and that's why we shut it down. That didn't take because Alex is great at media and he knows that a spit or a punch or whatever they do to him is going to be the thing that goes viral. I think that's them attacking a Proud Boy.
The way he addresses that clip, I think that's them attacking a Proud Boy. Look down at notes. He doesn't give a fuck, man.
Yeah.
This guy does not give a fuck about his group. It's so weird.
And I mean, no, it's not weird.
He was mad that they weren't punching anybody, that they were just chanting at them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then punch him then. And then in the next clip, they do punch a guy, or seeming like they punch a guy. We don't know what led up to that either. There's no context. and he's totally indifferent towards it.
They don't give a shit.
They just don't give a shit.
It really is like they just want to watch the world burn because they've got everything they need and they're like, I'm bored.
I cut all of this because there's no point in showing it, but Gavin plays the entire Tucker Carlson interview with Alex Stein.
Jesus.
Focused solely on the girl who spit on him, and now her one action invalidates the protest and the public schools as a whole. Gavin twice jokes that his feelings were hurt that Tucker did not mention him.
What feelings? Thought you didn't have feelings.
Like you didn't have feelings. Yeah, I thought you were fucking untouchable.
What, are you gonna cry? Are you gonna blubber? Are you gonna take out a tissue?
A tissue? A serviette? Gavin brings this up again the following week and says that things would have went better if it was his show and that Alex ruined it by antagonizing protesters. Gavin flip-flops on this. I'm so glad he got spit on because we were able to use that as the narrative. But then also, I was telling Alex not to go outside and not to antagonize people because then we probably would have been able to get the show to go on. But because he got spit on, the show got canceled? If Gavin is so convinced that students were responsible for the pepper spray, I can make the same argument that the girl who spit on Alex was a plant as well, especially since they're making a gigantic deal about it. If you're going to go out of your way to say, oh, no, those guys were obviously students.
Yeah.
I can say that girl is one of y'all.
Yeah, I can say that all of the protesters were actually Proud Boys trying to make a big hubbub about it, and you weren't planning to do the thing at all. You just wanted publicity for the Proud Boys.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Either way, this was a successful polarization of people who agree with you and disagree with you.
Gavin admits that if a girl spat on him, even if she was a high school student, he would choke her out without any hesitation.
Would you?
So I guess all the boxing you do, you know, that doesn't necessarily help if you're just willing to choke out a young girl without any hesitation. He talks about another one of the signs that the protesters bring, and again, his narrative here flip-flops.
That's the guy with the sign, I punch Nazis, come and find out. He didn't punch one Nazi, or one alleged Nazi.
That could be a potential Freudian slip.
He didn't punch any of us. I mean, Nazis.
This is a very interesting critique or a summation of the left. This is early in the protest. They get some chanting out before the show starts.
Dare to struggle! Dare to win! Dare to struggle!
This is a strictly leftist rally thing.
Struggle!
With the chants. You don't really see that with right-wing things.
Dare to struggle!
It's a cult.
Blood and soil.
Yeah, excuse
They will not
me.
replace us.
Lock her up.
It's all right-wing chants, dude.
Yeah,
what the fuck are you talking about?
Like, Proud Boys, from what I can tell, like to try to fly under the radar. They will only let themselves be defined by the opposition's grievances against them.
Yeah.
But they won't claim any of him.
No, yeah.
You'll just be like, they think we're Nazis, which is so shitty of them to think.
Gavin plays more clips of the protesting here and downplays why they're there to protest, exactly proving the point you just made.
Look at this lunacy. This is because of me making fun of Ben Ratner from this very chair and saying, Ben, you're a 23-year-old virgin, you gotta get laid. And making fun of the song, Proud of Your Boy. No KKK. Okay, deal. Your terms are acceptable.
There's a song from the Aladdin musical, Proud of Your Boy, and that is the basis of the name Proud Boys. It's all based on the song from Aladdin. They had an in-joke about it. So Gavin completely disregards every racist, transphobic, extremely hateful, bigoted thing he's ever said on the show, and said the reason they are there protesting is because we have a harmless fraternity based on an in-joke about the Aladdin musical. Go fuck yourself.
Exactly.
That is peak cowardice.
Yeah.
You spend half of this
Say
show
it with your whole fucking ass. Like, come on.
The whole other half of this show is in extreme hatred and transphobia. But no, it's just because I made fun of a guy in the show for being a virgin.
They got so bent out of shape because I'm existing over here with my views, and it's like, because I looked at them weird, because I misgendered them. It's like, no.
what I think is so funny for him to say this might be something you could get away with saying if you were being interviewed on some mainstream local news thing of people who don't know any better.
Yeah, and you can, like, really manipulate the message.
This is the audience who watches the show and knows what it's about.
They know. Like, who are you trying to lie to?
Yeah, why would you say this to audience who knows what you say? You're not fooling anybody.
If any of your audience that loves you were to explain why, why were they protesting Gavin McInnes? Don't you like Gavin McInnes? Why were they protesting him? They'd be like, he just says it as it is. You know,
he just tells it like it is.
He just tells it like it is, you know? Like,
he tells the truth about trans people and black people and how they all have it coming. And
he's so funny.
Yeah, how black people are just inherently violent. And bringing up the Aladdin musical reference would be the millionth thing they would say. This might be the best clip of the whole night. Someone posts the footage that proves that the guy in the blue sweatshirt was in on it, and that the Proud Boys are absolved from all guilt. And Gavin even celebrates that they find this clip.
This guy here is the pepper sprayer. He's talking to this guy here. That's his buddy. That guy has a Penn State sweatshirt on.
Someone is filming it on their laptop, I guess.
Is that Gavin talking? The edit of the guy watching the video did like the spiral thing.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, someone had a cell phone and filmed footage of someone watching something on their laptop. I don't know, but Gavin is celebrating this as a win already because the guy is pointing out the guy in the blue sweatshirt.
That is the same orange hat Penn State shirt we saw earlier in the show. So go back.
Yeah. Okay, so here's this guy here is the pepper sprayer. He's talking to this guy here. That's his buddy. That guy has a Penn State sweatshirt on. Why would a racist?
It's actually hard to determine how friendly they are.
Evil Proud Boy be bros.
This might not be the smoking gun I thought it was.
They're clearly both Penn State
They don't look like best friends, actually.
Committing an act of violence.
He could have been saying, "Get the fuck out of my way."
The fear of free speech.
Can we do it one more time? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so
slow.
This guy.
So that's the guy. You see the orange hat on the very far left.
Here.
Penn State sweatshirt. That's this pepper sprayer next to him. Do they have a rapport is the $1 million question.
He's talking to this guy here. That's his buddy. That guy has a Penn State sweatshirt on. Why would...
I can't tell.
It sounds exactly like him! What the fuck?
I can't tell. I missed this when we were listening to the clips from last week's show, but I caught it in editing. When they were talking about the Brendan Fraser situation. And Gavin was ragging on Brendan Fraser for talking about daring to come out and talk about his experience about being sexually assaulted. And Anthony at one point asks, how old was he when this happened? And there's a long pause.
Yeah.
And Gavin just stares at him.
He's like, oh no, we should have looked that up.
Yeah, and says, oh yeah, I probably should have looked into that. Gavin did so much preparation. He has so much paper of all these clips he wants to show. He takes so much time out of the show to show this video. Nah, that doesn't prove it. Nah, I can't tell. Just looks like a fucking buffoon. I mentioned this earlier. Here's where Gavin decides to blame Alex for the show being canceled.
Anyway, that chick is... I sent you pictures of her, Garrett, outside of this email. She's, I think her name's Libby or something. She's a high school student. She shouldn't have been there in the first place.
I don't know who was supposed to be there, but I guess high school students shouldn't be there. Maybe it was age restricted. I don't know.
Doubt it.
The university's arguments were, we can't have Alex and Gavin do a comedy show here because students will be hurt by Nazis.
So the university did say that then?
Gavin claims so.
So you said you weren't sure if it was the police or the university stopping it. But you know it's the university stopped it?
Now the university said it? Did the show start? I don't know if it even started.
I don't think it did.
It might not have.
And they got pummeled, and they took all the punches and went, peace. And then Alex Stein, one of the speakers, got spat on by a high school student who doesn't even go to the school.
She doesn't even go here.
So it attracted outsiders attacking the speakers, and the argument is students were in danger. I mean, the irony is that's what my whole talk was going to be about. That's why I didn't want Alex to go out there. I go, dude, let's just fucking try to get this talk to go. Because it would be a major coup to be able to tell these lunatics the truth. And they could go verify it on their own.
What truth?
This, again, is under the guise that your audience are all undecided, fence-leaning, potential liberal leftists who, you know, you just have to indoctrinate. Like, I don't know why he don't think he would just be speaking to the converted, like he said. We get an update. Gavin got to talk to Mercedes.
Oh.
You know, Mercedes Carrera, I talked to her last night. Her calls to me were being censored, and she was being prevented from calling me. Her letters to me have been deleted. They didn't get to me. And I said, I still think you're innocent. I don't think you molested your daughter. I think this is political. And she goes, I think so too. My court date is January 6th. Of all the dates, they chose January 6th. Is that not the state saying, yeah, it is, I am corrupt. Fuck you, bitch.
Wow, you think that all of that bureaucratic processing, they're going to go out of their way to make sure you get a specific court date? No, honey.
For Mercedes Carrera? The paranoid delusion here. It's so funny. And it only gets worse because he talks about another, a UK protester or activist, Tommy Robinson. I don't have the specifics. He's a real piece of shit. But Gavin likes him, naturally.
Yeah.
I'm going to torture you, you fucking whore.
Wait, what? Where did this come from?
This is what he thinks the state is saying to Mercedes.
Okay.
That they have a problem with this one sex worker who's alleged of sexually abusing her daughter.
Look, what do you think she has to do with January 6th? What?
That she was like a Gamergate person, that she's friends with Gavin? And that's enough for the whole state to punish her specifically and set the court date for January 6th?
That's so silly.
She wasn't even there.
She wasn't even there. She doesn't even go here.
It's like Tommy Robinson when he looked up, he was getting arrested, he looked up and he saw a magistrate with their idiotic 1832 white wigs looking down. It was a judge looking down at him and smirking. Tommy's getting arrested, the little bitch. Yeah, we know it's unjust. We know it has nothing to do with the legal system, but you don't like us, so we just threw you in fucking jail. And he was standing by a full glass fucking window, just looking down going, that's it, bitch.
I guess Tommy told him that. I don't know how you'd know.
What the hell?
This is the first time Gavin really sounds like Alex Jones to me.
You have to have a certain amount of privilege to believe certain conspiracies.
Yeah.
And the more privileged you are, the easier it is for you to believe conspiracies, because you feel like with enough privilege, you get bored.
Yeah, for sure.
And you think up
ways
things
to
that
go
you're
wrong.
oppressed.
Yeah.
What if black people decide to enslave white people?
There was someone running for office who had a campaign ad that was recently pulled about anti-white bigotry. I don't know if you heard about this.
No.
But they're talking about, it's of course like America First legal, paid for it. And it's saying, you know, all racism is wrong. And that includes racism against white people. And says that, you know, white oppression is underrepresented in the... It's all bullshit. But of course, Anthony and Gavin believe this 100% and thinks the guy's in the right and all that. I pulled up the article. Who is Tommy Robinson and why is he in jail? Tommy Robinson has been jailed for 13 months after breaking contempt of court laws for streaming a Facebook Live outside Leeds court. He did just say, I know it's unjust. He broke a fucking law, a literal law.
Yeah.
And he's also been charged with, like, fraud and assault and stalking charges. He's really a terrible fucking person.
The legal system is working fine until it starts holding these people accountable. Then it's like, oh no, it's broken now.
Yeah, now all of a sudden there's no justice. Alex Jones having to pay $1 billion? What the fuck is this world coming to?
The legal system isn't working properly.
Yeah, now all of a sudden the jury deciding someone's guilt or innocence isn't the way court is supposed to go.
Back in my day...
Back in my day, I would have been on the jury because the jury of his peers.
The only peers that should be me. I'm my peers. It should be a jury of 12 me.
Gavin has another real story. Another real story of real people, a real interaction he had.
Look at the amount of autism that's going on right now. Especially, no one ever talks about this. Autism is fucking everywhere. I was just with students at Penn State, and I would say a third of the people I spoke to were on the spectrum. Even my fucking Uber driver. He was like, I Googled you because I went to a bar. They delayed my flight, so I went to a bar, which cost me, by the way, $100, $50 to go to a bar and have a drink while I waited an hour. And he's like, when he picks me up, the same guy, he's into like death metal. He's originally Norwegian, Eli. And he goes, you're not my only celebrity that I've had. I have a tangentially famous passenger. You know the show about cats where the man deals with dangerous cats? What is that show called? Like the cat guy? He's super goth.
Jackson Galaxy or something.
Yeah, something like that. He goes, I once drove his wife's best friend. And I'm like, that's not a celebrity. That doesn't count. You're clearly autistic if you think that. So they're fucking everywhere now because of these old ladies having kids.
Yeah, that was the lead up.
Excuse me?
That older people are having kids, and that's why autism is on the rise, because the only people that are autistic, I guess, have old mothers. That theory. That's what brought that story up, that very real story with all those weird tangential details about his name and being into Swedish death metal.
It couldn't be the fact that he's just Norwegian and there could be cultural differences. No, this person is definitely on the spectrum.
Yeah, it couldn't be like language barriers or anything. He's absolutely on the spectrum.
You're not acting the way that I want you to act, therefore you are autistic. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. This is interesting. Gavin takes a call from one of his followers, and they have a theory as to what they should do for their next show.
You need the Hells Angels or a motorcycle club for security for these fucking losers.
Yeah, but then say the Hells Angels were there. It was in Altamont, right? And just like the Rolling Stones got the Hells Angels for Altamont, they killed a black dude for trying to stab someone.
I don't know why Gavin needs to bring up the race of the attacker. I guess he feels like it's just second nature for him. Yeah, for those who don't know, it was a central piece of the movie Gimme Shelter that was filmed about a Rolling Stones free concert in the Altamont Speedway. And there was a gentleman, Gavin is correct, he was a black man, if that's impertinent to the story, who at one point pulled a gun out of his jacket and was aiming it at Mick Jagger on the stage, and a Hells Angel pulled a knife and stabbed and killed the guy. So yeah, Gavin is trying to make the case as to why the Hells Angels wouldn't be a good idea.
That's the only reason, though.
That's the only reason. He does make the point that would just reinforce people's opinion of the Proud Boys if we had a known violent street gang for our security.
Yeah.
And the whole reason shit went down at Altamont was because the Rolling Stones decided to send the actual security home and have the Hells Angels do all the security. At an event where, like, drugs were going around. It was the most poorly planned event.
Rolling Stones aren't American.
No, they're British.
What the fuck do they know about the Hells Angels?
Someone probably just told them, hey, you know, it'd be funny. A caller called up and said, hey, you know who you need for Altamont? And they didn't have a baby Gavin McGinnis there to tell him, hey, there's going to be trouble. You might not want to do that. So they just went along with it. And
what a choice.
Yeah.
Like, what? Mick Jagger was high as shit. The whole band. Everyone was high
as shit. They had to have been.
That's what they did.
I'm going to guess they didn't have a reputation yet. I don't know. This was late 60s. Maybe they didn't have
they definitely had a reputation by the late 60s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, they might have just been fish out of water, didn't know the situation.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. At some point, I think you'd maybe have been better off doing it outside with, I don't know, 150 Hells Angels who have lengths of bike chain, ready to fucking bash in spitters' heads.
Yeah, you're wrong. All right, thanks for calling.
The most responsible thing I've heard Gavin McGinnis ever fucking say.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're wrong. Goodbye. Thanks for your call.
You said it too. You're just like, you're wrong.
In this clip, I guess because he's married to a Native American, Gavin decides to white knight for indigenous people.
White people need to stop being... This is all Matt Walsh's thing, who just said... He was saying, don't chemically castrate fucking young people.
I don't think I need to explain to people that the chemically castrating children is a false narrative that Matt Walsh is peddling to push an anti-trans agenda.
Yeah.
So yeah, the clip he's showing here is someone who is protesting, and the caption says, at UW Madison, a far-left protester against conservative Matt Walsh goes on a racist rant on a bullhorn.
Time. Organizing spaces are dominated by white people who... All of you! I don't care! It's ingrained in me. I'm not white. It's ingrained in all of us. But white people, you need to realize your positionality. You need to realize the
Positionality.
And you need to realize...
Yeah, that's why it's a racist rant, by the way, is because she's calling out white people for being racist.
Yeah.
So...
Is positionality a word? Can we look that up? You have to understand your positionality. I've got way too much positionality. Yep. Oh, coincidentally, it's linked to intersectionality. And by the way, that's not the dictionary showing us that. That's an academic site. Positionality. Kids, if you're at a college and you're being taught these words, I want you to know that if you include them in your day-to-day vernacular, if you include them on a job application, if at your first day at work you talk to your boss about positionality, you're fired. No one uses these words. Don't use these words. They are retard words. They show that you're an overeducated moron.
If you're on the spectrum,
yeah,
then that means you're overeducated.
Yeah, he kind of does a little bit of double speak there. He's one of these people, he's like Alex Jones, who hate people who are perceived to be more intelligent.
Yeah.
He hates the perceived intelligence, I guess. And I don't know who would put personality or intersectionality on a resume? I'm not sure where that would come up exactly.
Positionality on a resume would not happen, and you wouldn't talk to your... Unless you're talking to HR, or HR is talking to you.
On your first day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already have a problem on my first day. I'm talking to HR. So you'd be fired, apparently, according to Gavin. I'm going to guess Gavin would be the one doing the firing.
Yeah, I'm sure he's fired people for less.
Yeah, because I don't think...
people don't work for him. What am I talking about?
I don't believe Gavin is ever speaking at a place of actually trying to speak for the betterment of people. Like, he's talking here of trying to give advice.
Yeah.
He's just preaching a narrative. He's not trying to actually help anybody.
Please avoid hegemony, intersectionality, fucking positionality. Indigenous voices, don't ever say that. No Native American, no American Indian has ever said indigenous. They don't call themselves that. They call themselves Indians. They're not indigenous. And the whole idea of like black and indigenous, like a black person in America has ever met a fucking American Indian.
What?
That's why black and indigenous doesn't make sense to Gavin, because he doesn't believe a black person would have ever met or spoke with a native person. If it wasn't for his wife, I'm willing to bet Gavin never spoke to a native person either.
That is such
just
a
judging by
weird...
this rationality.
That is so weird.
Again, he just decides to pull random shit out of his ass.
They do not travel in the same circles. I think blacks wish they did. I noticed when my wife ran the American Indian Museum or worked at the American Indian Museum, she'd have these like events and tons of blacks would show up with like feathers everywhere, hoping they could glom on to Indian culture. But Indians and blacks are not a thing. They're in white areas predominantly.
Yeah, I don't know what he...
What?
I don't know where he's getting any of this.
Okay. I have a theory.
Yeah.
This is based on nothing.
Okay, well, I think that's fair game.
Assumption.
That's been established.
The Native American woman that he's married to.
Yeah.
She holds more privilege that we're unaware of. At some point, Gavin decided that Native Americans were more privileged as a whole group than black people. And I'm not going to go into... I have no opinion on which is more marginalized of a group because intersectionality comes into play very heavily.
And that the fact that black people would show up with feathers on or just trying to glom on?
Yeah, like black people are trying to do cultural appropriation, which, you know, black people can do that.
It's possible.
But it's like, you make it sound like there was like 100 black people with like headdresses on and like Party City costumes.
Yeah, just trying to fit in.
Why do you think black people would, as if there aren't black Native Americans?
Yeah. I can only suspect, and this is just speculation, that because I don't know how Gavin would otherwise, that he's getting these weird views about black people from his wife.
That's what I'm thinking. Where else would he bring and that's what I'm saying.
How else would he know?
It's interesting because it's a great example of intersectionality.
Yeah.
Indigenous women and black women and black men are arguably, in many instances, the most marginalized groups because there are so many missing indigenous women and girls and totally unaccounted for, whole terrible like grave sites, mass graves of indigenous people found and stuff.
It feels like something he just pulls out when it's convenient for him anyway, that I don't think he has much knowledge on it.
Yeah.
And as someone pointed out, Dr. Goatman, avid listener and follower and supporter, pointed it out when we were listening about how they were talking about Alex Jones and his defamation, and Gavin was bringing up all these instances of people who should sue the government for trauma.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Turks should sue Armenia.
That's right, yeah.
And I mentioned that it was very odd that Gavin didn't mention black people suing for slavery or Jewish people suing over the Holocaust. Dr. Goatman brought up, he didn't bring up Native Americans suing over their genocide either.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's just something that he even really thinks about.
Yeah, because so why would he have any finger on any pulse of it?
No, I don't hear him ever talking about, like what you had just said about indigenous women going missing and all of this.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be something he gives a fuck about.
Yeah, or knows about.
Yeah, no. Their whole... I'm very curious about their whole relationship. Because to be this either willingly ignorant or turning a blind eye to this much bigotry... I can't see her in a positive light.
There are people who are like, this power couple, like, he's trash. But, like, she's super cool. It's like, she's not, though. It's one thing if it's like, oh, they're co-parenting, they're not married, but, like, they had kids together and then they divorced. That they're trying to make the best of the situation for the kid there. But if they're, like, married, staying a couple, and diametrically opposed on the surface, there's something going on. Somebody's lying.
I regret to inform everybody, this is where he decides to switch gears from talking about the Penn State thing, and for the rest of the show, he's pretty transphobic and horrible. And pulls up a random Twitter post captioned, women's genitals come in all shapes, sizes, and colors.
Oh, I love this. Yeah. Women's genitals come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. For example, here's some different races with cunts, but we're just going to stuff a dick in the bottom left and hope no one notices.
I think that was the point, Gavin. I don't think they were trying to troll you.
Yeah, no, it's not like a joke like you're used to, your bros sending you sneaky trans porn, like.
He can't tell the difference anymore.
That's not a woman's genital. That's a British man's penis.
British man?
British man.
Why do you think British man? What?
That's a weird pull. I'm not sure where that exactly comes from. It's not even like there's any British people there to troll.
Yeah.
Like a guy in the production booth is like, hey, it's like your dick. Like, it's not even like that. I don't know.
And the top left and the bottom sort of left, those are hermaphrodites. They represent 1 in 8 billion people.
I don't even think there's 8 billion people in the world, first of all. There's like only 6 billion. So there's just one person in the entire world.
Yeah, there are a shit ton of intersex people. Like, can y'all at least be aware of that?
You know Gavin and his stats. He said, what, 4 in 6 million people are hard of hearing and would need sign language? So yeah, I don't know. He just decides, I'm going to show this. Everyone already agrees with me. Why do I need proof? I don't need to convince any of these people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's super easy. This is the easiest fucking job. Why wouldn't you just do this all the time?
Pretty rare. Actually, there's another, look how many hermaphrodites they have. And then the dark black cunts. I've never seen any of these cunts in my personal dating life.
And?
That's your scope?
He does not strike me as the type of person to ever even look at a vagina. He's not getting anywhere near a vagina with anything but his dick. Maybe his hands.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's not eating any pussy.
Fuck no.
No.
Absolutely not, I don't believe it. I'd be very surprised if anyone would willingly let him near one with his fucking face anyway.
I want to see him label all the parts of these genitals.
Yeah.
That's always so funny.
That'd be very interesting to see. Especially since he thinks a whole bunch of these are intersex.
Yeah, because they're large clitorises, but that has nothing to do...
That alone...
I guess maybe the top right, the couple black chicks I fucked, but I've never had a hermaphrodite. I've never had a woman who's black as coal, and I've never had a dude.
He'll fuck women, but not if they're too dark. Because he mentioned that before, too, that they look like 12-year-old soccer players, he said that one episode.
Yeah, I don't...
These women look like 12-year-old soccer players. Trans women have children genitalia.
Yeah. It's such weird things you pull.
Yeah. You say that liberals have a problem with patterns, Gavin. I'm starting to notice one.
You got a lot of patterns, buddy.
Oh, boy. And I'm not just talking about the one on your Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, and that's tacky. Your other patterns are tackier, though.
Yeah.
How gauche.
They had a little comment at the bottom at the Yep Project. Edit, trigger warning. Unfortunately, this post has attracted discriminatory and hateful comments. Yep is a small team of young people who are clearly retarded.
He's a fucking 12-year-old.
He literally is a 12-year-old. Well, no.
The way he
That's a disservice to 12-year-olds.
That's true.
He is just extremely immature.
The way he throws that around so much.
So he's just a little edgelord.
I know.
I've literally in like random video games I play where it's like random like 12-year-olds probably popping on mic, more mature than this guy.
As someone who was a fan of Anthony when I was much younger, it's hard for me to picture people older than I was then still being a fan of them later.
I gotta say though, the most socialization I do these days is through video games because, there's still a fucking pandemic going on. The people who are still bandying around the R word, the R slur, older people, my age.
Yeah, a lot of people don't grow out of it, is what I'm saying. Like, when I say I hate to think of it, I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't want to think about it.
But it makes sense.
I'd like to think that because I'm living proof of someone who is able to grow out of that and mature and realize that that was really silly and shitty of me to have been as a younger person, that some people just don't ever grow out of that.
Yeah.
That some people probably were around my age when they started listening to Opie and Anthony and just never stopped. And continued to follow Anthony as like the David Lee Roth after he left Van Halen.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just going to keep following this one guy. And I'm not saying that because honestly, I'm way more of a fan of what David Lee Roth did after Van Halen than what Van Halen did after he left. But that's just an example that I compared it to. It's what it reminds me of. Have you heard of Dylan Mulvaney? She's a trans person on TikTok and was invited to speak with Joe Biden very recently.
I haven't been keeping track of like anything like that.
To speak on trans issues and all that. So
the name rings a bell.
So naturally, a lot of people are attacking her now.
Of course. Yeah.
And it was at this point when Gavin was like, I don't have a problem with trans people. Y'all can do whatever you want. I just don't want you having anything to do with having any sort of effect on policy.
I don't want you to advocate for yourselves or anything.
Yeah, I don't want you to affect policy that wouldn't affect me in any way.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it literally wouldn't affect you.
No, but I have a problem with it because you dare be there. So Gavin here decides to shit on some of Dylan's TikTok videos. I just picked out the one because this is just what he does. He decides to go after extremely marginalized, targeted people and use them as enemies and targets, even though they're doing nothing to him. And I pulled this one specifically because Chrissy's in it.
Here he is going makeup shopping with his friend.
Day 3 of being a girl, and I've already become a bimbo. With the queen herself, we are drinking martinis at 2:55 on a Monday.
All men want to fuck bimbos. I would fuck Dylan for $320,000 if it went to charity. That bimbo, I would pay $320,000 to fuck. She is, I pray to God, it's a fucking chick I'm talking about.
Oh boy, that's super creepy.
Fuck off.
Don't know why you needed to pause the video for that and just let everybody know how incredibly creepy you are.
Yeah, why do we need to know who you want to fuck?
I don't give a fuck, dude.
Like, I don't care who you want to fuck. Everybody can fuck everybody can want to fuck who they want to fuck. It's whatever. Like, you have your types and shit. But don't fucking put it on me. Don't tell me. I don't want to hear about it. That's a much more reasonable thing to not want to hear about.
I don't care about the black women you fucked. That doesn't mean shit to me.
Why do we need to know who you fucked and want to fuck?
I don't care about what you think a 10 is, Gavin. Again, this sounds like a fucking show for fucking middle schoolers. And if that's your audience, and you know who you're catering to, that's extremely sad for them. And you, that this is what you're doing with your life, but sure.
On Sunset Boulevard, and then we're going makeup shopping.
We love it.
Cheers.
Super hot. Super retarded.
The bimbos are bimboing.
The bimbos are bimboing.
Yeah, I don't know why he feels that this is something that he needs to take time to take shots at. I didn't include any of the clips, but he also goes on a whole big thing about the drag show stuff. That's a right-wing talking point now, that drag shows are a danger to children, and shows just random children just having a lot of fun at drag shows and trying to say that it's an incredibly harmful and dangerous thing, and that's indoctrination, but what he does on a daily basis isn't. I didn't include any of that. And from this point on, honestly, because he goes on I feel like an hour, a half hour to an hour talking about Dylan specifically, I bailed. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It felt incredibly...
She's so wholesome.
Yeah, incredibly wholesome. I don't know. This is just someone living their life.
Yeah.
Just being who they are, and people have decided that she's fucking arch enemy number one for whatever reason.
Such trash.
It's absolute trash. It's completely baseless. It's just they need to hate someone. Like I told you, and I don't know if I talked about this on the show, the story that Gavin was at a children's resort thing with his kids. With people.
I'm sitting here like, ew, Gavin was at a children's resort? What?
You know, with people in costumes and everything. I imagine I guess you would call Disneyland a children's resort. Like that kind of thing, a theme park type deal.
Okay.
And it's people walking around in character costumes. And he says, I was sitting there at this buffet, and I needed someone to hate.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I was looking around, and I had to have someone to target my hate towards. So he just picked a random guy in the buffet line who was getting a plate of nothing but mashed potatoes, and decided, this guy's a fucker. Who just gets mashed potatoes?
That's so telling.
He's such an immature 12-year-old. Not 12-year-old. He's just extremely immature, hateful for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, so hateful.
And then decides, after telling this story, to say, oh, by the way, I saw a pedophile there. And the producer is even like, what?
Yeah.
You led with the mashed potato guy, and now you're talking
about the guy you hate? You're not going to hate the pedophile?
And he says, I saw this guy who was standing there talking to the kids and being a creep. So I walked up to him and I called him a pedophile and told him to leave. And he freaked the fuck out. And he says, because when you call people and call them out and say what they are, then that's when they really freak out and flip out. I guess much like Gavin when the Proud Boys were considered a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, calling Gavin a racist is gonna potentially flip him out. But apparently being called a racist and a Nazi is better than a fuckboy. I don't know. Gavin lands on a weird spectrum of his insecurities.
He doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
He has no idea who he is. So he's grasping at the most sensational tropes that he can think of.
Yeah.
And because he is a cishet white man who's rich and shit, of course he's going to go with the path of least resistance as white supremacist.
You bringing up that he is, taking the path of least resistance, extremely privileged, makes his outro line here that much more
oh my god,
cringy, that much more ironic. This is his outline.
Dude, I have 5,000 articles I cannot get to because these shows are too short.
He went for 3 fucking hours, and he talked about 2 things.
Fuck.
I don't know. These shows are too short, man. I had all these papers. I didn't get to it.
Good thing we're doing a 7-day marathon at Christmas. Until then, get fired, get in trouble, be brave, and never stop fighting.
Get fired, get in trouble, be brave.
Be brave, keep fighting. After you spend an hour targeting a harmless trans woman, you have the nerve to come on and say, be brave. What the fuck are you fighting? And for him to be this privileged guy in this position to preach to his audience telling them to get fired shows such a lack of caring for his own people who have been unfortunate enough to be brainwashed by his bullshit.
See, that's the thing, though. They're not his people. They're people who claim him.
Yeah.
He doesn't claim them.
Absolutely not. He doesn't give a fuck about what happens to them.
They are all cannon fodder for him. He is an island. He doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself.
And has the nerve to call leftists a cult. What the fuck do you call this?
Yeah.
People walking off fucking cliffs, getting fired from their jobs because they dare say the things you say and get paid to say.
People like this have always existed.
Yeah.
Now we get to hear everything they say because they're broadcasting it all. It really is just coming down to, how do you hold these abusive people who are abusing their rights of free speech and like edging everyone to blow up in their faces so that other people can look like the bad guys?
Yeah, if you get fired, the corporation is obviously in the wrong because they're just trying to censor you.
Yeah.
And then we can try to rally people to boycott this company and it never fucking does anything.
It's not these Gavin's faults.
Yeah.
It's never their responsibility.
God, no. Yeah, I wash my hands of this. Proud Boys getting punched at a rally? Cannon fodder. You getting fired from your job for repeating shit I say? Cannon fodder.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect me at all.
And I'm not to like shit on like phrasing or anything because I understand your phrasing earlier. But I'm not even going to be like, they're acting immature. They're acting 12. They're acting because that is just another way.
It gives an excuse.
Yeah, it gives an excuse for them. They're just hateful and they're consistently choosing hateful behavior.
So at the end of this, I left in a few clips from this past week's episode from a couple days ago with Anthony, just for seasoning.
We got to bring it back to Anthony.
Yeah, he's there.
This is O&A Detox, and we've just talked about Gavin all day.
Yeah, we can't get away with doing that. We have a percentile. There is a quota.
We met our quota.
We have to hit the Anthony Cumia quota. And to be completely honest here, I almost just tried to get clips for possibly another episode. I skipped through the 3 hours. I got incredibly bored. Anthony and Gavin just hitting on the same old racist tropes they always do. And it didn't feel worth it. So I just pulled a few. And this is honestly, I think, enough of a representation. If some highlight YouTube channels who post clips want to post some in the future, I'll look through those. I'm not going to go through a full episode again.
No, yeah.
There is no reason to.
Yeah, you seemed in a mood when you were doing it, so...
There's no point in it. Yeah. It ruins my fucking day. So I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So Anthony's back, and they talk a little bit about the Penn State protests, especially one person, the girl who spit on Alex.
I was just thinking, like, that girl that spit on him, I would love to see her just spit on my dick and start, like, that same wad of gook that came out of her mouth, just, and then just
It was a lot.
It was a lot. It was pasty. Like all her antipsychotic drugs made her saliva white. It probably usually crusts right here on the sides of her mouth, but she got that lug out. Oh, my God.
To make it even better for you, she's 17.
Awesome. Legal.
Excuse me? In what state?
Maybe South Carolina, where he's moving. If he's studying up on fucking... Honestly, it probably is 16 in South Carolina, knowing South Carolina.
No, because, like...
Age of consent in some states does go as low as 16. I've heard that.
Yeah, I mean, with parental consent, it can go as low as 14 in some places.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, what do you mean legal?
And this has been a joke with Anthony since the late 90s. I go to the Countdown website. The counts down till the Olsen twins are legal. And they're like 14 right now. So I'm counting down the days. Ha! And he dates girls that look extremely, extremely young. And it's been a joke on the show for years. I honestly don't know how much of an actual joke it is, and if given the opportunity, how young Anthony would actually go.
They're saying comedy's dead. People are saying comedy's dead.
You hear these people? People are saying comedy's dead.
Get a load of this.
You see this?
People are saying comedy's dead, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's really happening is supposed comedians that can't make it anymore, people are realizing that the things they're saying might not be jokes.
Yeah.
They're just said in a joke context.
So here, Gavin talks bullshit to Anthony, who we know isn't going to ask questions or debate him about how schools are trying to program his kids and how he has to deprogram them on a daily basis.
Like, we don't even know how bad it's getting.
My son's English class, I said, how many books have you read this year? What books are you reading?
Oh.
He goes, we're not reading books. They talked about Shakespeare a little bit. He goes, Shakespeare. The only Shakespearean thing they're doing at your school is having Romeo and Juliet and Juliet. They're doing Romeo and Juliet as a gay play and as a lesbian play.
That's bullshit. He has no proof of that.
Yeah, like,
I
what?
Googled it.
Why would they do 2 plays?
Yeah, they wouldn't do 2. That's stupid. He just made that up and Anthony just kind of laughed at it, but Gavin said it in a way that he wanted people to believe it, so... What? I don't know. We would have heard about that if that's how... The news would have jumped on that if that was a real thing.
There are plenty of renditions of Romeo and Juliet in high schools where it's just like, oh yeah, they're both girls or they're both boys. They do that already. They don't do 2 separate plays.
Why would it be 2 people named Romeo and 2 people named Juliet too?
Yeah, maybe like Romeo and Jules or Julian. Like if you wanted to like change it at all, but
a rose by any other name that is also mine. Like, what the fuck?
And then he tells me we watched a bunch of YouTube videos about white privilege the other day.
Holy shit.
I'm like, what book is that?
Yeah.
New York is an extremely liberal state.
Okay, I just realized he's in Manhattan.
If he does live in New York and his kids go to school in New York, then yeah, I could see that being a pretty progressive school. I'm very surprised. Well, no. I was about to say I'm very surprised his kids aren't homeschooled, but
I am.
Who's going to do it? Like, Gavin isn't going to have time.
Well, I mean, if you have enough money, you can just have like a tutor come in and do the homeschooling.
That's true. That's true.
But then you still, like, homeschooling is about controlling the curriculum a lot of times.
Yeah.
So you'd still have to do a fucking curriculum.
Yeah, I don't think he has the time for that or care.
No, he doesn't care.
No.
Why is that English?
That's not even a book. They're speaking English?
That should not be in an English class. If you want to let your kid take some class, and it's high school, so you shouldn't even let your kid there are basics that they need to learn. Yeah. English is one of them.
I will agree that it is weird that we're talking white privilege in an English class specifically.
It could very well have been
social studies class.
It could very well have been like an essay.
Oh, okay.
Because
that's possible.
High school, you focus a lot on writing essays, and it probably was just somebody writing an essay about white privilege. And there was probably there was probably 2 essays they had to read. One was probably white privilege existing, and one was like, no, it doesn't exist. But he's not going to mention that one, I bet.
No, probably not.
And if they're showing videos of fucking, why you should be guilty as a white person, it's a failure. It's a failure.
But now you're sitting there with your son trying to undo all the shit, saying, look, white privilege is a myth. You're the 7th most successful ethnic group in America. We're behind Lebanese, Nigerian immigrants, Japanese, Chinese. We're way down there.
Yeah.
Why are you only comparing it to immigrants? For them to have an easier way here, it has to be that they have a profession that is in high demand here, and they will be making more money. Sometimes you'll have somebody who is like fleeing like a civil war or something. But yeah, a lot of times they're going to come here because they can afford to immigrate here.
Yeah.
Like, why are you just comparing it to immigrants?
Because we don't make as much, so therefore we couldn't possibly be privileged in any other way.
It's like the privilege to be who you are. A black person, a white person is 35 times more likely to be violently assaulted by a black person.
35.
Yeah, you knew it. You knew it.
I mean, I was all even
this
before
is why I can't get through a fucking episode, because it's always the same goddamn shit.
I was gonna say there are more white people, which means there are more white people in poverty than anything else.
Yeah, just by average percentage.
Just by percentage. And there are more white people that will be killed because there are more white people. When it comes to any statistic, white supremacists pull this, and they flip it either way just to make it be like, more white people are poor. Did you know, though, that like more white people are also like gonna be killed or something? Just any way to make it seem like it.
They love to use statistics to their benefit.
Yeah, just specific ones though.
Yeah.
35 times than a black person is by a white person.
Crazy.
So what is this utopia or this white Wakanda we're walking
and then he goes to school the next day and you got to do it all over again.
Yes.
It's this vicious cycle of just deprogramming and programming.
Then don't fucking send him to public school, Gavin.
I sort of imagine your kid is like at school and just like, okay, yeah, cool. Oh, yeah. Comes home and dad's like, what'd they teach you today? And you're just like, I don't know, like we read essays about white privilege and oh, sit down, son.
Here we go.
I gotta talk to you. And the kid's like, fuck.
Why'd I have to say anything? Yeah.
Like, I don't want to fucking, like, what do you, if the kid is fine being there and you're fine not pulling him out, then shut the fuck up.
Yeah, who fucking cares, man?
It's one thing to be like, they're not teaching you things that, like, taxes and healthcare and insurance. They're not teaching you, like, super practical stuff.
Yeah.
I get that grievance. But
Right.
to be annoyed about what they are teaching you, but give them no other, like...
That I think is what I'm talking about, the distinction with Anthony. Specifically talking as someone who ditched a good bit of high school and never gave a fuck about any of it, to now look down his nose at what they're teaching the kids of today.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck would you rather?
Yeah, I don't have any strong opinions as to high school, because I know it's a racket. It's all just rooted in trying to train people to be used to a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like...
But that's not something Anthony would say.
Yeah.
Because that's an anti-capitalist mindset, and that's not something Anthony would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Anthony's down the same road of, it always comes down to white people are the victims, and to even mention anything the opposite of that is bullshit, and you have to reprogram. Of course, because, again, this is why I can't anymore. It goes down talking about rape stats. Down racial lines. So we're ticking both boxes.
Jeez.
Emmett Till. Fucking
Oh, right. Emmett Till. Wow.
Tulsa Massacre.
Seems like it just...
No. Go back to Emmett Till.
We do.
No. Do they, though?
Yeah, they do. Here in a second.
Did they go to the woman who admitted she lied?
No.
Of course they don't.
No. It goes in a completely other way that you would never guess, okay?
Seems like it just happened yesterday. Oh, no, it doesn't. Right. It was a million years ago.
Well, I want to... on our site, Atheism is Unstoppable did a mini dive on Emmett Till, but...
So, it happened a million years ago, so who cares? Well, Gavin does, because he did a mini documentary about it, so maybe let him talk about it in a minute. Maybe it actually is important to Gavin.
What evidence do we have that he didn't do it?
Oh, no. There's never evidence that someone didn't do it. There's just not a propensity of evidence that they did.
What evidence do we have that he didn't?
You realize...
Whistle? All Emmett Till was accused of doing was whistling at a white woman and got murdered for it. So he says...
okay, I thought he said the opposite.
He said, so what evidence do we have?
Well, the burden of proof is on the accuser. Like, why does anybody need to provide you evidence that it didn't happen?
Why are we dredging this up? What's the fucking point?
Yeah, we have this historical lens where we go back on sexual assaults that are black on white.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of this too, because I was brainwashed by this system.
You were a black guy that raped you're guilty of what?
But I've been trained through To Kill a Mockingbird and everything to be like, and then they just fucking attacked him?
Yeah.
He probably didn't even touch her. Why would he touch her? He has a
Yeah.
black girlfriend.
Yeah.
He doesn't want that white bitch.
Historical document To Kill a Mockingbird. I don't know, man. But yeah, he goes in this whole thing about how that trained him to think that all black men accused of rape couldn't possibly have done it because Atticus Finch proved it.
Yep.
They're just racist and need an excuse. And then you're like, nah. Judging by the rape stats in America, which I think are, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of black on white and zero white on black.
Zero.
I tried to look into this. I couldn't find any concrete proof. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say, I don't think I need proof that it's not zero. It's always an extreme with Gavin.
I will say, I'm sure that when it comes to police report data,
that's very important too.
It is a disproportionate amount that is reported to be a black on white versus a white on black, because you're gonna believe the white person, as from the cop point of view, you're gonna believe the white person more because white supremacy.
Yeah, either black women are not gonna waste their time reporting it because they know no one's gonna listen, or they do and no one fucking listens.
Yeah.
Because that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
But that skewed statistic is enough for Gavin, this ignorant motherfucker who never does any second guessing of what this actually might mean.
Yeah.
Looking at a bigger picture, he sees one stat and that's good enough for him.
Fact.
Because it proves what he already believes, so why would I do any more digging?
It's total confirmation bias there.
None.
White dudes do not want to rape black women.
I don't know if they...
Or they're incapable.
I don't know if they can.
There you go. Or they're just
They
incapable.
may have given it a whirl.
Don't touch me.
Yeah, that kind of comes back to Anthony's experiences.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony would give him the chance. But anyway, that's just,
That's just a theory.
Gavin brings up something a red-pilled speaker had said, and I think it's really funny because it exemplifies something that Anthony and Gavin do on just about every episode, so it's funny to see them confronted with a critique from someone who is on the right, and then how they just dismiss it.
Sonny Johnson shows this. I love Sonny Johnson. She's red-pilled. She's cool. But she always shows white people fighting.
Yeah.
And goes, oh, so how about I now judge the entire white community for this fight and talk about how white behavior is flawed.
They will show fights from, like, black people fighting other black people all the goddamn time. And just laugh and say how funny it is, because in their minds, it proves how uncivilized they already view black people. So now for a black woman to, I don't even know, for now a black person, I don't know who Sonny Johnson is or whatever, to then say this and flip it around, now they have to stare that critique in the face.
Right.
And I'm like, Sonny, it's about the numbers.
Right.
Yes, there are white riots. Yes, there are black riots. Yes, there are whites destroying a restaurant, though one's not coming to mind right now.
Now numbers matter to Gavin.
Sources. Statistical data.
It's been a really rough episode. We've gone long. I have one last clip I wanted to present because...
I am paying attention.
Okay. Because we're going to go out on a high note.
Okay.
Here. I wanted to go out on a high note specifically as a little treat. So, they're talking about the parties that I mentioned earlier that Gavin used to listen to and be kept up at night from his fucking parents. So they're talking about all these...
Fucking Great Gatsby fucking house.
Yeah. And Anthony says that it sounds like a party that he threw that Gavin was at. And that goes down a road of Gavin telling a story about having been at that party and the consequences of that party.
You know what the odd thing is? I remember you doing the same thing at my house at a party. So,
Right.
Oh, yeah. He talked about people being passed out on the floor from, like, drugs and alcohol and stuff. So Anthony is saying that he saw Gavin having been passed out at a party of his.
That almost got me divorced. You know, my wife went to a hotel after that.
oh shit, really?
For the record, folks at home, I brought the kids to Anthony's.
Yeah.
Someone's giving me this.
He brought his kids to Anthony's house.
Anthony's drug party.
Anthony's fucking, like, gun nut cachet. What the fuck, dude?
That's terrifying.
Giving me this crazy Maker's Mark that's like moonshine Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
8
Good
million
stuff.
proof. So I was like, this is really good booze.
You were on the floor of the theater.
I believe I pissed myself in the floor of your home
theater, yeah.
And then my kids are like, how does this work? Does he drive us home?
How do we get home?
And then Allie had to drive them home. Not great parenting.
Allie, and I'm sure she hadn't been drinking.
No.
I think Allie is a producer at Compound Media.
Okay.
I've heard them make mention to her before.
And then I woke up at like 6, like,
Where's my family?
This is bad.
You knew, like, you can't just
phone
wake
has
up and...
8 billion texts.
Bad, dude.
I'm in trouble.
That's
and then when I
bad.
got home, she was like packing a suitcase, and
Oh,
we got over it.
a lot of blankets and moccasins. I just picture
She was rolling up the teepees, attaching to the horse.
bow and arrow quiver and...
When she gets that mad, I speak in her native tongue.
Oh.
Oh, not na hatnehe, eta hoto unta hotnehe ata o ahuta. Sha hunuga saktahe o tatehe hotni ashinaha.
She answered you in English. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
And that means I went to the diner and got pea soup, by the way.
Oh.
Fuck you.
Yeah, so Gavin almost got divorced for having a party and bringing his fucking kids to Anthony's fucking drug parties.
Now I hope he gets divorced because of that racist impression of his wife.
Yeah, which I guess she's just cool with. Very Very, very weird.
Extremely weird. I'm gonna keep a close eye on that shit.
Yeah. I'm gonna set up Google alerts for Gavin McInnes divorce. I'm gonna keep a Google alerts for Gavin McInnes custody hearing.
Yeah.
And for when he loses his fucking kids. I don't know how old they are, actually. How old his 3 kids are.
They couldn't drive.
Yeah, they couldn't drive themselves. They had to be driven home by the fucking producer of the show. Which, I don't know if Ellie still works there. The clip I heard her mentioned was from years ago. So maybe this is an old story. This is why I think this is funny. I think it's funny for a couple reasons. Anything bad happening to Gavin, I think that's hilarious. That's why we're doing this episode, because the fucking show got canceled. But what I also love is the subtext, and what's not said in that explicitly.
Yeah.
Anthony moved his studio from his basement to a separate studio because people from another show, the Legion of Skanks show, that isn't there anymore, used to party in his pool, and shit got too muddied. We never talk about this, but Anthony is a bit of a neat freak also.
That's why I didn't have any furniture.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say Gavin, drunk, passed out, in a pool of his own piss.
In his home theater.
In Anthony's home theater? I don't think Anthony was too happy with that.
No. He's gonna be a witness for the custody battle. He's gonna be like, yep, I saw those kids doing lines.
Maybe there wasn't necessarily drugs, but there was...
Alcohol's a drug.
At least copious amount of extremely high-proof alcohol was involved. Anthony can laugh that off all he wants. I know that's passive-aggressive. I know for a fact he was...
chuckle afterward, yeah.
He was very mad about that.
He was like, yeah, my home theater.
My home theater. Yeah, I'm sure that was a lot of fun to clean up, that you either had your fucking cop friend wife clean up, or... I don't know, you fucking didn't.
Cop friend wife.
So that's it! Ugh.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. A lot of fun here. Just when I thought the last couple couldn't get any worse, this one managed to top it. And I said this last time. This time I mean it. The next episode is going to be about 1998. It has to be.
Back to basics.
Back to basics. I haven't been listening to a playlist of nothing but Opie and Anthony 1998 episodes in full on YouTube for the past week or so, taking notes about specific episodes to not do that next. I have to do that. Remember when I said I'm probably going to have to listen to or cull through a few episodes of the show?
Oh, yeah.
To actually bring enough material. I'm 4 months in.
How many episodes is that?
Not all of them were recorded.
Oh.
But they started in June. I'm up to October. And I think I'm almost close enough to have material for an episode. I honestly don't even think I'm going to, probably until the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to go 6 months worth of shows to actually have enough material for the next episode. But by then, we'll talk about the first few months of O&A in New York, from their move to Boston, where they were an established show for years, starting over fresh at a historic music-only radio station that has now brought on a couple shock jocks that nobody wants there. See how they deal with that, how they gradually become more comfortable with their surroundings, how they slowly build an audience over time, and talk about some personality traits of Opie and Anthony along the way, and kind of see how they start to show themselves a little more as time goes on. So that's going to be on the next episode of O&A Detox. Make sure you are following us on YouTube and or Spotify, whichever place you get these episodes. Subscribe to the Riffcom's YouTube page if you're not already. And if you're listening on Spotify, make sure to follow the Going Off podcast page where we're posting all these episodes so you don't miss the next episode. Because we'll be back in 1998 next time on O&A Detox. Bye!